Hi, everybody. Welcome. We're back. It is time for the week, everybody. Time for the show. Who's ready for the big show? You ready for the big show, everybody? Anyway, welcome. My name is Dean, and we're here again today with a full house. We've got pretty much everybody, with the exception of Linz. He's coming on in a minute. Ryan Lindley from the Sheeple Shepherd podcast will join us. James D. Fiore is here. At Blackballed, blackballmedia.ca is where you can find him. Blackballed, the podcast, is where you can find him as well. Just finished a great one with the guys from Yuck Yucks and Mark Breslin and Bullard talking about losing some huge comedy heavyweights. It was a fucking great podcast, by the way. You did a really good job.
Thank you.
Yeah, it was good. So go download that if you get a chance.
I didn't see that one.
Yeah.
When did you drop that?
Just happened like an hour ago.
Live,
okay.
dude.
All right.
Dude, he was live. There's Rookie as
Hello.
well, our head of production. Chris Rook, he's here as well for today. We're going to talk a little bit about Aaron Rodgers' suicide note. And, sorry. Looked like a suicide note.
It did have that feel, didn't it? Like,
Yeah,
good night,
right?
everybody, we'll see you later. Good
Yeah.
night. Knowing you. Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
retirement.
Maybe Alex Rodriguez wrote it for him. You guys remember that?
Wow.
Yeah, remember that? It was like, everybody go check on Alex. Speaking of wellness checks, we've got people to check on today, including Tamara Lich, or Leash, and Pat King.
I thought
Tamara...
you were going to introduce James again.
No.
That's the low-hanging
but
fruit, Lachlan.
Tamara had her bail denied, one of the convoy organizers. We're all convoy today. There's some dude in the mall in Ottawa now with a gun. They had to shut down Rito Center today. So that whole thing is still a mess. We're going to wade through some of it with Karima Assad, who's going to join us in a few minutes. She's been live tweeting, Tamara Lich's bail denial this morning, which almost gave me a boner. And I shouldn't be reveling in the sadness of other people, but I believe this is what Schadenfreude was invented for, right, fellas? Like, I don't like taking joy in other people's sadness, but when they're complete and utter degenerates,
Yes, you do.
I happen to feel masturbatory about it. Well, not if they're good people,
I'm concerned what that band's going to do without its lead singer.
right? Right? Did you guys know that she was the lead singer in a band called Blind Monday?
That's a
know?
really
All
deep
their
name for a
LPs.
band, too. Blind, I don't know. Let's call it Blind Monday.
Yeah.
Fucking bizarre. Just the weirdest shit. Anyway, she was denied bail this morning, and
I need to
we've
be
got
involved in the conversation to pick that
information
name.
about that.
Like, right? Like,
What, Blind Monday?
Where's the starting point on that one? Like, did they just write down a
Blind
bunch of
Melon.
names and then
They're the
Yeah.
Blind
Blue
Melon
Mo-
age group.
Blue Monday,
Blind
Blind
Monday.
Melon.
Blue Monday by Orgy.
were they a
Great
Blind
band.
Melon cover band? What are you doing? No
I think she
rain?
just took two of the bands and then kind of bastardized the names and said, "Hey, Blind Monday, that's our name." Do you want to hear some of her singing? You guys want to hear? She's in jail for a long period of time, so now
I
she
have
was-
a feeling you're going to
remanded
play it
into custody
anyway,
today. Yeah, I'm gonna
regardless
play it.
of our objections.
Yeah.
Well, before we get to Pat King's No Good Terrible Day, which got significantly worse at lunch, he's going to have his bail hearing denied later on today. Oh, dude, there's no physical way that guy's getting out of jail, according to what we saw, and we'll get to it with Caryma when she stops by. Like, fuck, there's no way.
I
He's
don't know. He
fucked.
seems like a good guy. We should.
Yeah, he
vote him
seems
out.
like a great guy. I bet you he'll be on his best behavior after this, you guys.
I
sure.
wouldn't be worried about him being a
Yeah.
Recidivist.
running threat either.
No, he's not
Whoa.
going anywhere. Does he have one leg, by the way?
I think that was the joke.
I just heard that.
Has he got a wooden leg?
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's got a peg leg. Yeah.
Oh, that
It's like
makes
a
me
pirate.
kind of happy for
did-
some reason.
Why?
He can't be a flight risk when he only has one leg.
That
It's
was
more of a
where
hopping
I-
risk.
That's where I thought Lachlan was going with
no,
that.
I had no idea. I swear to God.
Yes, you did.
No,
you did.
No, he was making fun of him for being a fat smoker, is what he was doing.
No,
You're
I'm
doing the
just
Lachlan
because
preamble
he's clearly going to run to the States. Like, I mean, come on. Like, I mean, you'd have to be a complete moron not to think that
Run.
he's going to run.
Run.
Well,
He's gonna walk briskly.
Yeah, I heard that today, and I looked it up. Apparently, Pat King, who is currently being eviscerated in a courtroom right now by a judge being told, hey, you're a piece of shit, and it's not going well for him at all. And I read about he's got the one leg because when he was younger, he broke his leg and refused to take care of it because, as you know, he doesn't believe in
Seems like a
standard
character.
medicine. Yeah, so
don't
what he
know
did
if I
was he let the leg get all gangrenous, and they're like, got to cut it off, Pat. And he's like, go ahead. I don't care. I can hop around with the best of them. I can just get a pogo stick.
I
and
don't
I can
know.
go around and around like a fast guy with one leg, and you can fuck up. Anyway, so he's got the one leg, and I just found out about it today.
I don't know if I believe that though, because he looks like he's a guy that's very judicious about his health.
Yeah.
So,
And his
That's a good
wardrobe too. I love that they played that video of him in his car with that swooping red shirt on every comedy thing. John Oliver, everybody's playing that video.
Just shitting on him.
And he's wearing some weird skull cap too.
Yeah.
I'm like, that has to be embarrassing him. Like,
I don't think he knows the name of it. I think if you said, Pat, describe the feeling of embarrassment, he'd go, what? What?
Yeah, but guys,
What
you
are
got
talking
you got to
about?
you got to cut him a little bit of slack. He is a very busy investigative reporter.
that is true. That is true.
Do you want to hear? I'm going to show you a tweet before, and this is all good stuff. This is all like stuff to buoy the spirits of 90% of this country, maybe more. Do you want to know what happened today? First of all, Pat is going to have his bail denied, but do you want to know what happened when they went on break at lunchtime?
Mhm.
This might be
Yes.
the all-time greatest story.
This is the best story of this so far.
So lunchtime comes around for Pat's no good, terrible fucking bail hearing, which he will get denied because he's a danger to society. And during his lunch, he was sitting down eating what appeared to be a sandwich, according to most people. And in walks Paul Champ. Do you know who Paul Champ is? Paul Champ is the lawyer of record for the Ottawa citizens and businesses that are suing the convoy and the organizers for $306 million.
class action suit.
Class action
Yeah.
lawsuit, which is as toothy as it gets. So what did Paul do? As Pat was sitting down eating lunch, he walks over at lunch at his bail hearing and served him with a $306 million lawsuit while he was eating.
I thought this was going to be an Arby's thing, and I was going to get mad.
Could you imagine?
It still could be.
Just watching your life flash in front of your eyes, verbiage at word after word. You're sitting there sweating it out because you're Pat King and you're not overly healthy and you've been in jail all weekend, and your
No
entire
smokes.
life, no smokes, haven't been able to smoke. There's no smoking. He's so agitated. He goes for lunch as he's watching his life get frittered away right in front of him. Frittered. He's exploding in court. He's losing his fucking mind. His lawyer eventually said, "If you want to go and represent yourself, you go right ahead, Pat." And Pat's like, "Oh, sorry," because this is the only cat. It's Chris Sky's lawyer. Is the only dude on the planet that was able to take his case. And at lunch, as he knows he's swirling down the toilet, some guy comes in and hits him with a $306 million.
Hold on. Why?
You think they
Why
pulled
was
the old,
he?
are you Pat King? Yes. Stop, sir.
Kaboom!
No, I'm not. Pat King.
Question: was he? You're alluding to him having a disagreement during the bail hearing with his lawyer? Are you?
Yeah.
Was that happening?
Yeah, his
Oh,
lawyer
dude.
had to tell him shut the fuck up like 3
Yeah.
times.
Yeah.
And literally threatened to walk out as his lawyer at one point. And this is a bail hearing. We're not even at the trial yet. This is a
Yeah.
fucking bail hearing.
I object, Your Honor. No, it is the February 22nd. Shut up. Go sit down.
Shut up, Pat. Yeah.
Wow.
That's how good it's going for these guys.
Yeah.
It is fucking over. Like, I said this to Mubin, who's going to come on with us in a little bit. He's a terrorism expert. Used to be a terrorist, so I guess he's a terrorism expert or extremist, and he works with governments. And we're going to have him on to talk about Ukraine and our part in it coming up in a little bit. But I sent him a note, and I'm like, are these guys in way more trouble than we all think? And he goes, "You have no idea.
Whoops.
Like, you have no idea the kind of trouble Tamara Lich is in. You have no idea the kind of trouble Pat King is in. I think we're kind of coming around to it. We have no idea how much trouble the people are in that helped them organize this, whether they're from a political party, they're business people, who they are. They aren't just going after little people here, by the way. They're not just going after little individuals. This came up today. Prominent Ottawa lawyer Michael Spratt tells CBC Ontario MPP Randy Hillier should be prepared to hear soon from police because of his public comments. Made during the Ottawa occupation, Spratt said Hillier could, quote, be very well facing serious charges. He's not alone. The other guy that might be facing charges, and I just found this out today, our friend Maxime Bernier.
Wow.
Anybody who helped in a material way, these individuals in a material way, is in so much fucking trouble for the rest of their lives because they committed seditious acts, whether they knew it or not, whether they thought it was seditious or not, against a duly elected government and took it out on the people of Ottawa and fundraised and all the other shit that we don't know. Because listen, these guys were denied bail this morning according to what we know. They were also denied bail according to what we don't know. So what are those things? Man, this is going to be fucking huge.
There's
As
an
long as they don't
there's-
take their foot off on the gas on Brienne. I mean, I want her to go down. She bought
goes down.
a T-shirt,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and I think she needs to be like public stoning at the
Brienne from
very
Chilliwack?
least.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's in trouble.
There's also an MPP, Joel Harden, has filed an official formal integrity commissioner complaint against Randy Hillier because of the 911 bullshit.
Yeah.
So that's coming as well. Not that internal sanctions really matter to Randy, but
Yeah.
we'll see what happens
We had-
there. But it's
I
not
hope-
looking good.
I hope that when it all kind of becomes more clear to us that these aren't like, I don't know, like sedition and treason and all that kind of stuff. It just really, like, is that what happened, or was it really annoying, really big?
Their
I don't
attempt
know.
was to overthrow the government.
When you say that though, like, okay, who said that? How many people knew they were?
The
It's in
trucker
the letter.
convoy. Yeah,
Well,
so
when
just-
Randy stood on a hill saying, "This is the hill we're about to die on," I think.
Yeah,
it
no, I
was
saw
kind of
that. But what I'm
intended.
asking, what I'm asking though, is like, is there actual any material evidence to
Yeah,
support
there's
the
a
idea that
there
they
memorandum.
had
is
planned?
memorandum
So
of
it's not. It's
understanding.
more than just we're going to take over the government.
Yeah,
It's more than that,
more than
right?
whispers. It's on their memorandum of understanding. And if you go back through web browser history, which you can do, you can update the history of the website. Pre-February the 7th, that's all they wrote about. They wrote about taking over the government, making sure they fire and hang people and arrest the Senate and all that shit, dude. And then February the 7th, things got
Something about
fucking
the
real.
Queen.
Yeah, the Queen and guns
She
and
knew.
rectal exams free for everybody. Pat was going to be in on it. He was going to use his peg leg for part of it. I don't know. But I can tell you
I
this.
still don't believe that he.
He is. He's got one leg.
He's got one
I
leg.
swear to God. But that's what this was all about. And when shit got serious in Ottawa, they went back and changed their MOU, their Memorandum of Understanding, so that it didn't include taking over the government. And if you don't think the government of Canada has all that stuff, like, holy fuck, dude, like, what don't we know? Who were these Bitcoin addresses belonging to?
Are
Who
we,
gave that $4 million that was frozen? Who are the actors? Who's Joe, the guy that sent Dwayne and Tamara Lich to
Joseph.
Ottawa?
Hey, Joe never bothered nobody. He's a
know
good
what?
man.
I just
hear,
hope
uh,
that we
did you-
protect our First Amendment rights.
Yeah, I mean,
Did you hear who they're theorizing Joe might be?
No.
Jason
Who's the
Kennedy?
guy? Who's our friend from
King's
the
surgeon?
Dragon's Den that lives out west there with you there, Lachlan?
oh, Brett Weinstein.
Yeah,
oh, Brett
Wilson.
Wilson.
Brett Wilson.
Yeah, that's his
There's
name.
he apparently he's a big supporter of everything, and that's the only person they can come up with an idea of out that way who's got a private jet. So
There's interesting connections to this whole thing too, and I wonder if we're going to start to see more and more of these types of stories. Because I mean, in Fort McLeod, there was a local guy, like he's just one of the town councilors, but he was sort of the head of the Coutts thing, right?
Mhm.
And so I know, Ryan, you saw that. People
Yeah.
started tweeting me about it, obviously based on the Alberta connection, right? And I had no idea. He's a pretty small time guy. I mean, he had like 12 followers on Twitter, right? So, but it's
18.
out now, and I guess a ton of people called on both sides to support and to condemn him. Called the city and the mayor and complained, and they've had to release statements. And apparently, they're going into. I told these guys that they're keeping an eye on it. On Twitter, I told them to keep us posted on it. But there's lots of stories like that, weird connections where. So I still think that there's something to James's theory that the Conservative Party at the beginning of this thought that this was a good way to degrade the Liberal Party or to at least inflame the right to I don't know, cause
Organize.
Fire them up.
Yeah,
But you know,
so
the Coutts thing is weird too, because just yesterday when they were debating, I think I was in the House, could have been the Senate, but a liberal stood up again and recycled that story about the guns. So does anyone know? So what I heard is that the guns were found at a house nearby, but they had nothing to do with the convoy. Is there
They
been a
were
later
connected.
development
The guys that were arrested were connected with the convoy, but it didn't happen at the actual location of the protest. So I don't know.
No, Ryan.
No, okay, I might have it wrong.
They were at the protest. Okay, they were spotted at the protest.
Right.
And what I think happened was I think somebody from law enforcement figured out who they were, a warrant or whatever, and then they went back to the station house and then put together a plan, and they arrested 13 individuals. And they went to 4 different locations in and around Coutts area. Yeah. And that was what they got from the arrest. From the
was that table full of guns and ammo and shit like that the RCMP displayed. Yeah.
Now, the people on the side, the supporters of the Coutts demonstration, are mad because it was a little bit wishy-washy, the wording and in some of the stories about the connection of these individuals and that seizure of weapons, right? But everything that we read and everything that we related on the locker room, at least, was that the 13 men were part of the demonstration. So whatever that means, they might not have organized it, but they were down there. They were waving flags and maybe had a vehicle down there and were spending time. It was a campout, just like the one in Ottawa.
Yeah.
And then they were arrested. Now, they might have been, I don't know if they were all arrested at the actual blockade, but they were there and they were on somebody's radar. That led to the seizures. And that's where this confusion that the James is talking about.
The confusion, I think, is born from the newspaper who posted the picture of the weapons set up like they're a Mexican cartel bust or something. Like that's what was confusing about it. So it gives the impression, oh my God, these convoyers had a whole bunch of guns.
Well, what I think they failed to really highlight the association with that Diagon group, that movement that's trying to split and all that logoing was on the vests that were confiscated, and the guys were all known members of this, separatist Diagon. Yeah, sorry, they're all known members of this separatist group headed by that Jeremy McKenzie fellow that we're friends with apparently.
No,
and I'm just kidding, and They did a horrible job at releasing the information, but I don't think they can release it in full at this point, just because it's an ongoing investigation. Because they just busted the second in command in Ottawa on Saturday.
The ferryman was his name. How many guns are in the houses of those protesters? Like if they checked every protester that was in Ottawa and then went out for guns, all of a sudden we'd be like, "Oh my God, it's actually happening. These are the arms of the revolutionaries." And it's like they probably had those guns a long time ago. Like,
but the point of the matter is that there is a connection with that seizure and the Coutts border crossing, even if it is a minimal connection. And I think what ended up happening was, and again, I've said this on this podcast, I think what happened was after that seizure happened, the organizers of the Coutts blockade said, we are being directly tied to that. And that's not what this was supposed to be. Mm-hmm. And they packed up and went home because of it. So to their credit, they realized how murky the waters were getting. Yeah. But if you go down to, there's a bar that they were all partying at when they were in Coutts, and they were blocking the border crossing, and a bunch of them signed a flag, a Canadian flag, and they left it in the bar. I guess the owner was sympathetic or whatever. And again, this is all circumstantial. I don't have any proof of any of this. It's just stories I've heard. And their names, most of the 13 that were arrested at whatever point, signed their names to the flag of the people that were part of the blockade. So they were there, and it's worth pointing out that they didn't have guns at the blockade. That's worth pointing out. But again, it is. Okay. It's definitely worth pointing out, but it doesn't necessarily take away from the element that these this occupation in Ottawa, this demonstration, whatever the hell you want to call
that
it,
it housed. Yeah.
that and the type of people that it is attracting, that extremist point of view is gravitating in, and it's like flies, you know.
Yeah,
they're just
They
yeah.
seem
They
like
look,
they're
at,
like
they look
the
at it like it's an
equivalent-
opportunity, right? They didn't. It's not that they didn't maybe identify. Maybe not every single stripe of that group identified with each other, but that was their opportunity. Sorry, James, I didn't mean to.
Sorry, I was just going to say, it just sort of reminds me a little bit of like a teenager is about to get into a fight and he's like, I'll fucking kill you. And then the cops charge him for uttering death threats. I guess, sure, it seems like charges. Like, I'm not trying to diminish it, but again, this doesn't seem like a group that's sophisticated enough to do anything. So on one hand, I'm like, well, if they put that in their credo, then clearly, you know, they need to be punished somehow. But on the other hand, I'm like, phew, I'm glad it wasn't the real serious militias. You know what I mean?
Well,
like, it just doesn't.
these
We're
guys
seeing
are
that
serious, though, James.
play out now in courts, and you're right. I don't think there was no definitive plan, especially anybody that was actually planning something like this would have had prosecution, litigation, stonewalls in
How about a
place. They would have
mole
had
in the
lawyers
government?
ready. When we get in there, here's your bail. We're going to have Joe from Alberta and his private jet's going to bail you out, and this guy's going to bail you. These guys are standing there going, oh, I don't know, the First Amendment.
Okay, here's the thing, though. Is stupidity a defense now?
No,
'Cause
ignorance of the law is not a
Have
defense.
you been
in the
following
court.
Karima today? If you follow Karima and you're following the trial of Pat King, the bail hearing, and I just got a note that he actually might make bail today, which is fucking hilarious because the lady who's acting as a surety, her name is Kelly Comics. Is that her? How you say her name? Kelly
think so.
Comics. This is her.
Has she got all her limbs? Just
Yeah,
let's make
she's
sure
got
we
all
get
her
that out there.
limbs. Not
Before
only
we
she
start
got all her
making jokes.
limbs, she told the judge in this case that she's got no problem keeping Pat King in line. This is her as well. She's also part of the. She's one of the people that helped come up with the crypto token, and she was part of the financial machine of the actual convoy. That's
She
who
was
he
trustworthy.
says he wants to. Yeah, very trustworthy. Where she said that she kicked her 17-year-old son out. Did you guys see this part?
Yeah.
She was like, I kicked my 17-year-old son out of the house, so no big deal. I can take care of him, no problem. Now, that is a bit of a problem because
Why
there
did
was
she
a
kick him out? Did he get
Well,
vaccinated?
Yeah, here's the
Imagine
story.
trading your kid for
Carrie
Pat King.
Comics, Pat
Jesus.
King's surety said she put her 17-year-old son out of the house. It was proof she could keep Pat King in line. That son seems to be Marshall Rath, who in 2018, he's now 19, slashed his grandmother, Elaine Rath, with a sword.
So maybe we should get the son watching Pat. That sounds like he would be the one to watch him.
Dinosaur.
This
If
is
Carrie Comax marries Pat King, her initials will be KKK. So I think it's something worth looking into.
She said that she believed Pat was not racist, and the justice is like, how long have you known Pat? She's like, 3 weeks.
Yeah, but they also have now
It's
people
already his
showing
longest friend.
screenshots of their interactions back and forth for the last 2 years on YouTube and on every Facebook post, and they know each other. But
Oh, yeah.
yeah, no, he's
interaction.
It's not going to be a problem. He's
Yeah.
not going to be there, so it'll be fine.
Yeah, it'll be fun. And it's, I mean, just surrounded by dumb people, right? And to the point where I was like, last night when I saw this picture of Tamara Lich and her husband, Dwayne, the guy that thinks she's John Lennon and JFK, I was like, I get it now. I get it. I understand.
Oh, you're
At
a
least-
womanizer. Okay.
They don't believe in social distancing, but his teeth do.
Hey, easy.
He's been working on that line all day. You know what, Ryan? You know what,
James is
Ryan?
like, whoa.
I didn't get
Hey,
braces because I
70
realized that it was great for cunnilingus. So fuck you.
70% of this panel has shitty teeth, so me included. So I don't get to make
dude,
those jokes.
I have fucking trailer park teeth.
By
I
shitty
cannot
teeth, you
make
mean-
fun of. Yeah,
But
yeah.
I went back at Ryan, and I actually give Ryan a lot of credit here. Ryan was pretty cool because he went back and found a whole bunch of Dwayne Leash stuff.
You know what he looks
My
like?
entire
Dean?
evening
Can I
was
just
consumed
interject?
by this fucking power
brother?
couple.
I would be willing to bet money.
She was his babysitter once, I think.
He looks like her brother. Is that?
No. He looks like he did sound at the bar during the Saturday afternoon jams.
Oh shit!
I swear to God, everyone watching this right now knows exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
He's the guy, yeah. And occasionally,
sounding like
on and off, he would work the bar.
Yeah. Well, you know what's crazy is that you're absolutely right. He's a bartender / oil patch worker, and he does gigs. And their band is called Blue Monday, which we were talking about earlier. Can I give you the stylings of Blue Monday?
If you're gonna play,
Blind
if you're gonna
Monday?
play the guitar solo one, you're gonna find out exactly why he mostly runs the board and doesn't play in the band a lot.
Yeah, I'm not going to play the guitar solo one. What I am going to play you're welcome, is him on lead guitar. This is in a bar in Medicine Hat. This is D. Wayne, my boy D. Wayne Leash.
Too, eh? I was born in Medicine Hat.
Of course you were.
I could have been hanging out with these people. I don't know why I left.
This is D. Wayne Leash and his wife, Tammy, because that's her stage name. Tamara is like her business name. So Tammy's her stage
the one
name.
she uses, the name she uses when she wants people to take her seriously.
All
right, let's fire this fucking
ladies and gentlemen,
karaoke
trailer
Leash family band, Blind Monday, doing some Janis Joplin very poorly. What do you think, boys? What do you think?
Well, I'm one of the musicians in the group. I don't know if you guys are, but I have one problem with this video.
It's shit.
And no, they're all playing a different song. The drummer's playing Who. I think the guitar player's playing a Spencer Davis song. I don't know what the fuck she's singing.
Someone's playing The Doors, right? You can hear the
Somebody
And
piped
there's
in-
a Doors track in there.
Somebody piped in
They're
Cruise
all
FM
so
on the monitors.
stoned. None of them know what song they're playing.
But
One,
still better,
two,
still
three.
better, still better than Courtney Love. So
Listen
okay.
to Tamara Lich.
They're all playing a different song.
How do you like? There are two
That gives me
videos.
cold sweats. I don't
There
Yeah.
are two videos. Locke had the tweet of the day, by the way. He's like, hopefully part of her punishment is staying away from fucking karaoke machines. Wow.
Awful.
So here's a question. How do you go from that to being a crypto whiz? Anyone?
Basically, that's how all crypto whizzes are.
Cocaine is the only thing missing.
Drugs. Yeah.
No, seriously. I want to know. Like, I watched that, and then I got to know, like...
I started buying Bitcoin.
Yeah, I'm sure you did.
Yeah, Locke, I'm not investing for the last time.
I told
Texting me.
I told you, Dean, that I was gonna go and look at that money that $500 that Bitcoin guy gave us.
Yeah.
Right, and where it's at. And I was like,
where's it
I'm
at?
gonna see if I can get this thing up a little bit higher. So I started putting some money into it. Don't tell my wife.
Oh
yeah.
boy.
You bought the dip. You bought the dip. Way to go. But like, you look at these two, and you're like, how do you go from that to being the head of a financial insurrection cartel?
Well,
I was thinking about that yesterday, James, and I wanted to ask you this. I'm like, when you see that picture and you watch and you know her history as literally a bartender, gig worker, oil patch worker, someone who's 50 years old who's never been able to hold down a real job, don't you start going, wow, who made her do this, right? Like, who's behind this? Who are the people that put her up to her putting her name on that GoFundMe account because of the heat that she's currently taking? She was denied bail because of the seriousness of the charges against her. The person I saw on that stage killing a cat, that is not a financial wizard who's able to figure out how to fund an insurrection.
Okay, I'll jump in. I'll jump in here because here's the thing, and I think a lot of people will they'll be not so much sympathetic, but they'll understand this, right? Like before COVID and before what we've gone through over the last couple of years, everybody had that buddy or somebody in their family that was more prone to believing conspiracy theories, right? And they were sort of always doing their own research, watching YouTube videos, And if you ended up at a party with them, they might bring something up, and it doesn't matter what it was. It just, they might bring something up, and they were intrigued by it, and they were like, "Hey, listen, we're being lied to," and there is a mistrust in authority. And it doesn't. I'm not even just talking about JT. I'm talking about just a general type of personality that's wired that way. And then COVID hit. And then they just had something new. And in Alberta, and I don't know if this is the case in Ontario, but if you go to a small town or even like Dive Bar in Edmonton, you walk in, those guys are in that bar. They live there, right? And they find solace in that community, and they gravitate to, like, dude, I can leave my house right now, drive 5 minutes, and walk into a bar in my small town just north of Edmonton, St. Albert, and I will be sitting with that crowd, and that's where they mingle.
Yeah, but there's no one in that crowd. Yeah, what I'm saying is there's no one in that crowd that has the financial capability to do what she's been accused of on their own. Like, that's what I'm saying, which is why I asked. I'm trying to say, hey, James, or anybody can answer this. I mean, it's part of the conversation, right? Like, how is it someone who appears to be from a very, like, when I look at this picture, I think of the movie Nell with Jodie Foster. You know Jodie Foster, where she came out of the bushes after caring for the corpse of her father for like 20 years, and she spoke gibberish. Like, she came out of the forest, she's like, "Mrs. Chickapay," and everybody's like, "What the fuck are you talking about?"
And he's
she's
Encino
like,
Man, hanging out with Pauly Shore, right?
There's no way Nell and Encino Man should be able to have committed the fucking, like, gravity of the crimes they're accused of if they're just like a couple of yobs. Like,
and there's
so
dribs
that's
and
my
drabs.
question is, do you think there's something else going on here? I do. Like, and I'm not saying she's innocent of anything. I'm saying she doesn't have the pedigree of the kind of criminal charged with the kind of charges she's charged with to be as sophisticated as we all think she is. Because they weren't. That's what I'm saying.
Think there's any sophistication. I still think
20 million.
She's just
20 million she raised, dude.
Well,
and there's also, again,
I think it was an accident. It was like a video that goes viral. Honestly, I think that's what this is. It was like a video that went viral.
There's dribs and drabs of information coming out right now about pre-planning, about electricians filing for work permits weeks before this started to wire the Coventry Road base camp. We don't know the whole story, so to speculate that it was just a couple of yahoos, that would be myopic and stupid and misinformed. And to think that it's a big conspiracy at this point would be myopic, stupid, and misinformed. We don't know. Let's wait till the information washes out, and we'll find out. It has fingerprints.
That's not how we do things.
Or
it has
fingerprints of everything.
Theorize a whole bunch of crazy shit. Let's do
and
that,
then we just end up like them. You know what I mean? Like, we just end up like them with their fucking tinfoil hats.
But if you put that picture up, Dean, the couple, the Tamara and her
hot-looking couple, the brother.
There is no way she's not cheating on him. It's not a chance in hell, right?
So there's no way he owns an iron.
And there's no way that either of them applied to the city of Ottawa for a work permit for fucking electrical work for a
actually, what I would say is that do you guys remember Michael Sona? Michael Sona was the only guy to go to jail in the robocall scandal. And he was just a staffer. He was basically like one of those two. He did not have, he's smart and everything. Like, I talked to him a little bit still, but like he was not the kind of person that could like set up the tentacles and call centers and do this and do that. Like, he wasn't that guy, but he was the guy that ended up going to jail because he was sort of in on it early. Because if this is a conservative operation, they want to be able to shield themselves by throwing Guffaw and his wife under the bus if they had to, or his wife or her Tamara and her husband.
So
and it's just like,
James,
these are the useful idiots. If this is an operation, these are the useful idiots. These are not the brains.
James is still suggesting that there is a more involved piece of the puzzle here,
which there has.
I think it's for the money.
You know what?
I think the money is the key to everything. I don't think it's the crowd. I don't think it's the convoy. I think it's the money, because there's no way that that much money being raised in such a small amount of time is like, what the fuck? Like.
Have you looked at the GoFundMe history, like of the biggest fundraisers of all time? That was like number
killed it.
3.
Yeah.
And it,
Wow.
and it became number 3 20 times faster than any other top ranking GoFundMe.
Oh, and they shut it
and
down.
No one had an
It might have been
explanation
number
for it.
1.
Yeah.
When you look
Yeah.
at when you look at a very successful corporation that has a face to it, we'll say. So you look at GM, McDonald's. Who is the face of McDonald's? It's a clown. It's because the clown sells. The clown has it draws in the attention. The clown isn't the one making the financial decisions, but the clown is the one selling it. And that's what they've done here is they've put the clowns on display. As useful idiots. And there's something going on in the back that we can theorize and we can think, but that's really the only way.
You really think so, eh?
I really do.
Can I take it next step from the bar and hanging out in a small town and I hate the government and da 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 da. Then you go home and then you get on Facebook and then somebody, Barry said, "Hey, I was on this one group, da 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 da," and then it builds, and then the next thing you know, the more active you become, the more involved you become. I think that's part of like from going from the bar in Redcliffe on jam nights afterwards, sitting down and having kokanese and talking about your hatred for the government. It goes that next step to online. And then I'd be interested. I'm very curious about James's opinion about that. The fact that this was actually somehow a plan of the government. And then Ryan, you're right. I mean, it's a lot harder.
Not the government, the Conservative Party.
Mad at a clown, the government, the Conservative Party. Sorry, it's a lot harder to get mad at the clown that you're 200 pounds overweight from eating McDonald's every day, right?
Yeah.
That's the part. Then that's the point we're at now, right? So we have to watch. Like, if you guys didn't have to sit through fucking hours of her fucking band's videos yesterday, but I did. And as the gigs got bigger and the time went on, was like during her involvement and her notoriety, all of a sudden signs ended up on their monitors on the stage that said, talking about oil and gas and freedom and this and that.
Yeah.
Like they were literally slow rolling it throughout their entire community, building. They've probably got tens of fans for that band that were on the Facebook page that shared it maybe 5 or 6 times.
Both of them love the band.
Absolutely.
And I like the way she cleverly reworked the Killing in the Name of to say some of those that burn crosses
don't play that video. I'll get angry.
Are my brothers and
I will leave. Don't fuck with rage. I'll go and buy that lottery ticket I threatened to go buy.
This is
the one
another
that she did
episode
on-
of Lachlan Steps on James's Punchline.
The one that she did with Blue Monday, Blind Monday, the one that she did Down with the Sickness, might have been one of my favorite songs of all time. And when I heard her do it, I'm like, she's fucking up music for people in southern Alberta,
that's
isn't
the
she?
real terrorist.
Like that's the
That
real
guy,
chunk.
remember that guy? I can't even go to karaoke. Now he's like, I don't want to go to karaoke.
That's passion.
This is
solving problems that she's
where'd you get
creating
this,
them.
Ryan? This picture this is of Dwayne Leash's basement. Is that what I'm to assume?
Yeah, this is a
It
this
just
is
writes
a,
itself. Like what's
This
going
is
on?
a comment thread, I guess, that he was speaking with somebody, asking where he got his sweet flags from. And if you cannot see that, it says "The South will rise again" on the flag in the background by the.
Is that a
ancient
bong on the
flag.
table?
Looks to be, yeah.
That would be a
I
bong.
don't judge
or
him. Don't judge
or a
his bong.
dildo. Big dildo.
Probably a bong dildo.
I bet you it's been utilized for
Bilbo.
both.
A bong
And,
dildo.
yeah, I don't know what's going on in the bottom picture there, but it's clear to see.
Russian flag. Yeah, he's got
Yeah.
the Russian
No,
flag.
I mean-
he's got the
I mean,
Canadian
I just-
flag.
Yeah, the mix doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me, but
Well,
He's
keep in
clearly
mind-
a renter too.
Yeah, keep in mind, this
those
is
are
him.
pretty low ceilings.
I love my wife, Tamara. She's like JFK. She's amazing.
This is what I mean by useful idiots, though. Why not empower them? Get
right.
somebody in power to tell them they're important and special,
Exactly.
like something like Trump would do to.
Oh my
people that
God! You know who
storm a
those two
Capitol.
are? They're the adult versions, even though the other ones I think were adult
Trump
of
children?
really scared kids that worked for Chris Sky, but they're the adult version. That's probably their kids.
You know what someone called them? They said, this is the couple this is like when you order Keith Urban and Nicole Kidman from Wish, but this is what you get.
That was Brent. Brent on tour said that yesterday.
Hi, couple escort? Yeah, your pictures don't match your real life fucking faces.
That's Trailer Swift and Kurt Cocaine.
Trailer
Swift. Oh, my. Well done.
What was the other one? Kurt Cocaine?
Kurt Cocaine and Trailer Swift.
Trailer Swift.
That's the greatest.
Oh my God, that's good.
I spent a lot of time with that power couple last night. You guys are going to take all the jokes I can give you.
We're waiting for Karima. She just sent me a note. She's just finishing up with Pat King's bail hearing. We've got Jimmy standing by from James P. White from the locker room. We'll get to him in just a second, which is nice. But I do want to ask you a question, James, because this percolated over the last few days. What's wrong with John Kay? Can anyone explain what's wrong with John Kay? Because he came after me several times over the past couple of days for doxing people, which I never did, which we all know I never did. And, like, he's as triggered as a shithouse rat. I have never seen it. Like, I always thought, we've had this guy on the show several times. I always thought, he's quirky. He's interesting. He's polarizing. Still don't dislike the guy.
He didn't bother me. He didn't worry me like Slappy did. When we had Slappy on, I was always like on edge.
Yeah, I don't subscribe to his belief structure, but I respected him because he seemed like a pretty smart dude.
Yeah, he managed to be able to linguistically make his way through a bunch of hard conversations, and for a smart guy, which I know he is, very well educated, smart fella. He said that he wouldn't come on the show anymore. I'll leave that up to you to tell you what everybody said. Then he started shitposting me a couple of days ago, calling me a doxer. Me and Jerry Butts, Trudeau's right-hand guy, accusing me of like putting out people's addresses and stuff like that. And it got weird. And then someone sent me this tweet that he sent the other day, and I'm like, and I kind of left John alone. Like, fuck, it's just John being John. I don't really care. He's kind of a quirky weirdo. But then he tweeted this. So CP24 put out a story, said feds commit $10 million to help 200 black families in the GTA buy their first home. So John K. writes, so, quote, how do they decide who gets the money? Do they pick, like, quote, the blackest applicants? And then he types, and what about the architecture? Like, do any of us really want to see this money go towards a plantation-style house? That wasn't it. I mean, he kept coming, other tweets. I don't need to get into it. I tweeted him back. But bottom line is, there's something wrong with this dude, and I'm starting to worry about him.
He had a bad day. He had a bad couple of days. But I would say that he deleted those tweets. I've been reading him, and I've talked to him, and I've known him for long enough, I think. Like, again, I was telling you off air, Dean, that, like, we're not, like, friends, like, in the way that used to mean, which is met each other in person a bunch of times and hang out. You know, but he's been my editor once, and we've worked together a little bit. I've interviewed him a couple times. I think that he was trying, like, he's clever, but he delivered that joke so horribly, and it just sounded racist. I don't think he's racist. I think what he was saying is that he doesn't think that there should be race-based things. He probably thinks there should be poverty-based things, so that a whole bunch of poor people get grants instead of just a certain race of people. And the way that he tried to deliver that criticism of that system was just awful, so he deleted it. And then I think, and this is where I was a little bit surprised, because he was using similar tactics to what trolls with 10 followers might use on you by posting like your old shit with the Edge and stuff like that in response to you responding to him criticizing you for doxing. I think you guys define doxing differently. I think Jonathan believes that if you share the information, you are maybe not as wrong as the person who hacked it and posted it, but you're in that sort of universe. I don't agree with that. I think that once it's on the internet, it's on the internet. And I think that he just found himself like in a bad place, getting kind of shit on for that one tweet and then coming at you just because he hates doxing. I think it's really that simple. You know, I don't think he's like going insane or anything like that. But like, Jonathan, I don't agree with him all the time. That's another thing. There's a lot of people that I really like that sometimes they say things and I'm like, holy shit. I'm gonna avoid that guy for a couple days just so I don't remember that comment. And then it's over for me. I don't know. When you say something or you tweet something that's controversial, the world treats you as if you're standing on top of a mountain shouting that tweet for the rest of your fucking life. You know what I mean? And it's not like that. So
yeah,
I think,
but he seems to weasel into these conversations like about color, skin color, racism.
Yeah.
And he always
those are identity issues. He's an identity journalist.
Oh, he's got an identity issue, all right. And the identity issue is that he seems to take great pleasure in marginalizing news about marginalized groups. Like that's the one thing I've noticed about him. And to the point where it's like, we've had him on the show and he's done it a few times, like he did it with Naheed Dasani, and it made me incredibly uncomfortable. And the fascinating part is that, for a guy who preaches, open conversations, marketplace of ideas, for him to tell you that he's going to refuse to ever come on, which is fine because I can't afford to have him on the show anymore because everybody fucking hates him. Every time he was on the show, I got all kinds of hate mail. Why do you put that racist on? I'm like, he's polarizing. I ran out like that tweet about building black plantation homes for black people, giving money to the blackest. Hang on, that tweet alone, and I know he deleted it, but he still put it out there. The fact that he thought that was a great idea tells me about the color of the dude's soul, and I feel sorry for him, which is why I'm worried about the cat.
I think what it tells you is that he tried to deliver a critique about affirmative action processes in a way that was clever and funny, and he failed. What he was saying was, wouldn't the blackest architecture be the plantation? Since they always like to talk about history, when I say they, I mean like white liberals. But like where they want to talk about history, so he's taking the most historical black home he can think of, which would be a plantation home, and putting that in the joke as a symbol of what could be the blackest home. He just didn't tell the joke right. I don't. I would argue with you all day about him being like a racist because he doesn't believe in processes aimed towards affirmative action. I think that there's a difference, and I think we have to like.
If you've got to take 2 Ubers and a fucking bus to get to the fucking punchline of a joke, that's not coming,
like for me. That's not like a lifelong sin.
Yeah, but
it's like, I'm done with John Kay forever.
He continually goes into those areas and minimizes any news about people of color. Like it is a constant with him, and he doesn't have a horse in the race, so to speak. Like that's the thing that I fucking shake my head at. Is I'm like, 200 black families were given a leg up because they needed some help to buy a home. He has a problem with that, but he's not black, so he doesn't have a say in the fucking matter. And on top of it, to insinuate that the blackest people should get the money, and then to insinuate that the architecture would be plantation style, even if he thought it was a joke, means that he's a fucking asshole. Maybe you know him and you don't know him to be racist, but he is definitely a fucking asshole.
I don't want to belabor the point, but what he was trying to say clearly was that this is a race-based thing. If you were to unpack it with him, he would probably say it's fine to want to give to certain special interest groups, but this should be based on poverty, not skin color. And he was just riding that point, whether you agree with that point or not.
He never said it at all. Never made mention of that once.
Locke,
but that's
what I will say this. So I don't think that John Kay is racist. I don't, and I don't think that tweet was racist. I think James is right. There was an attempt at a joke, but the thing that I said out loud was, has somebody checked in on him? Because if anybody in their right mind reads that joke out loud, realizes what Ryan just said. If you got to take 2 Ubers and a bus and maybe a plane ride to get to the punchline, you don't release it. It's I do this every once in a while. I'll put something out and then I'll read it out loud and I'll go, yeah, no, that's going to get me. And I don't send it. Not because of racism or anything, like just because it's controversial and they might not get it. We've all had jokes that people didn't get, James, That's not a joke that people didn't get.
Yeah, I know.
That is
Listen,
so
it's
far from any
James's
attempt at
face right
humor.
now. James's face is like, I tried.
yeah. Well, my face, actually, what I'm trying to communicate with my face is,
He's got to realize, he's got to
okay if it
dumb it
went over
down.
your head,
You really
Lachlan.
do.
That's
You got to really dumb it down. You got to read stuff out loud, and
Twitter.
not from the perspective of where you
and
come
he made a
from,
mistake,
but from the
and he
perspective.
deleted it, which is rare too for him. So he
Which-
deleted.
How many
so
people
the
make-
deletion? The deletion is the recognition of the mistake. I would
That's
say.
more than a mistake to me. That's like he's slipping.
It's admission of guilt.
That's admission of guilt. Exactly.
A bad day. He had a bad day. That's what I think, honestly.
You know what? And
you know
I think
what?
that's a
Do
really
you know
nice
the difference
way
is
to look at
between
it.
you and him? You know what the difference is between you and him? When you
human.
have a bad day or make a mistake or whatever, you own it immediately, often on air. And I think, so I understand the difference between you and John Kay, because what I think John Kay did was tweet it out, go, fuck, and then delete it, and then get angry because he's got to deal with all the people that are mad at him for a thing he already deleted. And I understand that. So I think he was just,
Shouldn't have tweeted
I hope
it
he's
then.
okay.
I do
you know
too.
what? I hope he's okay because it doesn't. I don't think he is. I think he might be afraid or something's going on. And you listen, we've all
Made mistakes.
we're all
Why-
making mistakes, but we've all dealt with the stress of the last couple of years differently.
How
and
did
his
he?
beat,
how
his
did he
beat
turn
is
on
all
a dime?
controversy.
Yeah, I know.
What's that?
But how did he turn on a dime to hate me so much? Like it is like I've never seen that before. That's
The
what
doxing.
I didn't dox anybody. Like if you
I know,
fucking
but you
read
guys
it, you
have
would
different
know
defi-
that.
But do you have the headline?
Here's
You know,
the
like-
list.
Right.
I think we can all agree. Dean keeps trying to
Alright,
talk
I
him.
see.
Talk himself
Something
out of
somebody
the
put
corners
out
of
on
this
the
one.
internet, somebody else didn't understand, and everybody got mad. Shocking.
That's
You know,
where
for-
we're
that's-
getting.
Why didn't you
that's-
delete it?
That's
I
where
did. It
did?
was
Oh, you
deleted
did?
like 5 days ago. Yeah, dude, I didn't
Yeah, but
need
you
someone
put
to
it
tell
out
me
there.
to delete
You know,
it.
Lachlan often doesn't post it, at all. He doesn't have to delete it.
That's just
Well,
'cause
no,
he's
but
not a
like
tech wizard.
if he thinks that I made a mistake, most normal people would go, "Hey, Dino, got a minute? Let's talk about this because I don't understand it. Because I have a working relationship with you and I'm a human being and human beings talk." Sure, John, no problem. What do you want to talk about? This doxing thing, I don't like it at all. Well, let me walk you through it. We didn't dox anybody. We posted a tweet with a link in it, in a story on our website, and that link had the actual link to the
Yes, but
website.
the link
And he's
had
like,
the personal details of these.
No,
people
actually,
who
that
just
link-
wanted to be donors.
Actually, that link did
Was
not have any of the personal information in it. It just had the name of the person that donated, and then the little comment because I wouldn't even do that. And so, what part of me is sitting back, and I don't feel like explaining it to people. I'm enjoying the hate because I collect it all, and then I send people to go get them. So
Weird.
a guy like this is like, I would have thought for such a guy that holds academia up to be his thing, and openness and open conversations, he would have read what I did, would have known what it was or wasn't, and would have made an educated guess as to what kind of conversation we would have after the fact, instead of going, "He's a fucking crazy guy. I'm never talking to him," which is great because I can't
All
have
of a
a
sudden
fucking
he's
show
Don
anymore, so he
Knotts.
kind of did me a favor, right?
Kind of looks a little bit like Don Knotts, doesn't he?
I called
Now
Dean
that you
right
say
away
it.
when I figured out what you did, because it took me a while to figure out what you did
Yeah.
with the list. And
Yeah.
I was like, I got on the phone with you right away. And I was like, first off, I was concerned about you because I'm like, they're going to come out.
Telling you, you guys, you and John are like Bizarro Dean. and
Lachlan's
John.
concerned about everybody now. We're all in
I
trouble.
was seriously concerned about
So
Dean.
is my
I'm
mom.
like, are you okay? Like,
My mom called me yesterday and she's like, "Are you all right? Are you okay? Do you need us to come up and see if you're all right?" My dad's like,
How you gonna
"You
get all
need
the
me
way
to
here?
kick some ass? I'll kick some ass." And I'm like, "Don't worry about it, Dad." He goes, "He's fucking crazy." And I'm like, "Dad, it's okay." Then my brother calls me from BC. He's a reverend. And he's like, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry. I can't believe all this is happening." And I'm like, "Dude, I asked for this. It's the tax that I pay." That's the thing, is that a lot of people are like, "I can't believe you did it. How are you able to actually weather the storm of thousands of death threats and guys like John Kay calling you out?" I'm like, "Because I like it."
Yeah. Let me tell you.
But everybody
I'll-
processes it differently, and I think Dean has been equipped to deal with what he's gone through in his career, and I get it as well. When when you realize that not everyone's going to like you, and that a lot of people might dislike you, and that is actually part of some equation of success.
No way to identify with that at all.
Yes.
At all.
See,
Except for most of my family, almost everyone that I've met, and basically every friend I've ever had. Go ahead.
Lachlan, you really you're pained by it, right? You were like, oh my God, like, and I'll tell you right now, honest to God, on the phone, hey Dean, right after it happened, hey Dean, wow, eh? And all I got back was giggles. It was a giggle. It was giggles and giggle. It's not something. This is what it is. Like that's the response. That's what we do.
Part of it is I knew what I didn't do, and I did it the right way because I just wanted people to know the list was out and trouble was coming because I knew who was involved and what was going on. And so there was no need for me to actually print names, tell anybody where anybody lived, because I actually care about the safety of all Canadians, not just the ones who were vaccinated or people that didn't go to Ottawa, believe it or not. I think it's important that people have that ability to be. Does it bother me? What?
Does it bother you that out of 100 people, I would hazard a guess that like 65% probably think you doxed?
No, don't care. No, it's the myth that I allow to keep going because it was all sleight of hand. I wanted people to come to our website too. I'm about clicks as much as I am about fucking transparency. Okay,
you have always been a click magnet, Dean.
Yeah.
Yes, you have.
Speaking of click magnets, please welcome the hardworking court documenteur, Karima Assad, ladies and gentlemen.
Great job today. Great job.
So, how was it? You got Pat King. You got Tamara Lich. She got denial bail this morning. Karima Rules is where you can find her. Let's start with Pat and work our way back. What happened? We're waiting with bated breath. How did it go?
What happened?
Oh, I can't hear you.
Now we got no audio.
Turn your audio on. Can you hear us? Hello? No.
Tamara Lich, she's so tech savvy, right?
Pop out and pop back in again.
I'm reading her lips.
Yeah, pop back and pop back in again. Can you hear us? Yeah.
When you pop back in, do it like a wrestler.
Like that.
Okay, well, before she comes back, what do you guys think? Do you guys think he was denied, or do you think he got bail?
I think he got bail.
I think he got bail because it will piss off all the liberals.
I think he's staying in jail.
I think so too.
Are you there?
Oh no! Still nothing.
I can't hear you.
Settings. Okay. There's a mute button on your settings, I bet.
I got to remove Jimmy. I'm going to remove you for a bit, okay? Just in case.
There you are.
Yeah.
Yay! Okay, sorry. It's like I've never operated a computer before.
I've only been on this show 18 times in the last 4 days.
Live from her smoking chair.
I don't smoke inside. I feel like that is disrespectful to the house. Anyway.
It is. Yeah. Talk to me. Pat King.
Pat King. Okay, so we're not done with the bail hearing yet. I'm going to go back in 8 minutes. Because court's just in recess. But what we've heard so far is from the woman proposing to be Pat's surety. So that's someone who basically assumes responsibility for him, that he needs to show up to court dates and not continue to commit crimes. Or I shouldn't say continue to commit crimes, but not disturb the peace. So we heard from her. There was a very lengthy cross-examination. And then there were submissions from both the Crown and the defense about why Pat should or shouldn't get bail. So that's where we're at right now.
So what's your feeling? Because if you follow Caryma on Twitter, let me just bring up a couple of these bad boys. Didn't look great for Patty early, did it? Like it didn't look good for him at all. This is what I bring up. This is from a couple hours ago. The Crown is playing a compilation video of King talking about bullets, violent revolution, and sundry racist remarks.
Yeah.
Then you put, and I love this tweet, this isn't legal advice, but maybe don't live stream yourself threatening public officials with bullets. Pat King's mask is off his nose again. Kelly Comox, who's allegedly supposed to be his surety, says those videos were altered. I know that person. It's part of him that I know that he loves every race. And then you point out she's known him for 4 weeks. So, like, you've kind of interjected your thoughts as how this has gone, as you followed it today. But, like,
I think there's a decent chance he gets bail. So
Really?
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. I'm sorry to deflate everybody. I think that it's not a guarantee by any stretch. But the defense in his submissions, and also this is probably why Chris Guy kept getting off. They have the same lawyer. And his style is he's very like a very fast talker. I don't mean that in a disparaging way, but I don't know what the outcome is going to be. His point is that if King is denied bail, there's a decent chance he spends more time in pretrial custody than he would if he got convicted on whatever it is he's being charged with. So that is a point, and actually it speaks to issues with the bail system. This is true for many, many accused, and it's why bail is such an important part of the process. It leads people quite frequently to plead guilty if they are denied bail and they realize that actually, what's the point? I'm going to spend more time in jail than if I just plead out, right?
Oh, wow.
So
didn't that happen to Bullard?
Now,
kind of.
Sorry, what? Locke?
Didn't that happen to Bullard? Kind of.
What?
In a roundabout way, they that one of his hearings, he was sort of forced to plead guilty in a similar.
Yeah, it was sort of
something
like that. I have a serious question though for Karima. Can a prosthetic leg be considered a weapon in prison?
I don't think so. I think that would be like a mobility aid.
Is Pat King got a fake leg?
He does, and there's sort of some controversy about whether. Well, I understand it that he lost it falling off a roof and then delaying seeking medical attention. But I think he's told people he lost it in Afghanistan.
I said
he jumped out of his window because he wanted to end his life, but it's the basement apartment window. So
he's been telling people that the leg he lost in Afghanistan when he lost it from jumping off a roof.
Stop it.
I don't know that he jumped off a roof. He might have fallen.
Workers' comp, here I come.
Okay, all right. So one-legged Pat King, old pirate Pat King. He's sitting in the courtroom today. Did they show his face at all? Because, yeah.
Well, you could see half his face because he was in a mask, right?
How did he act?
Oh, he had to wear a mask.
He took the mask off at some point. Like it would slip below his nose, or he would drink water and then just like leave it off for a bit. The Crown pointed it out at one point, and then the judge kind of chided him. He was, sprawling around. He looked a bit frustrated. He tried interjecting a few times, and his lawyer shut that down. He was wearing a sweater, which I understand to be a motorcycle brand, Odin, but possibly a double sort of meaning there, because Soldiers of Odin is a pretty prominent.
That's the only sweater he owns, I think.
Yeah, he's been wearing it for like a month straight.
Yeah.
He could have been communicating that he was going to OD in jail, right?
The guy's been wearing the same sweatpants and sweatshirt for a fucking month.
I can't get past the fact that he lost
his leg
his leg.
pit would smell really bad.
As the only smoker of cigarettes on this panel, I can see the angst in that photo of him. He hasn't had a cigarette since Saturday.
He's not allowed to have smokes, is he? Like, you can't smoke in a remand center.
What if you go out into the yard? Are you allowed to have a smoke?
There is no yard.
I don't know. I don't think there is a yard. I think it's like a remand center. But okay,
can you
vape? So who's this? I don't know. I don't think
so. I have one quick smoking. Just commit a petty crime. Just go to jail.
I have a quick
for 5 minutes.
point of procedure for Caryma. Is it true that it's not a judge, but it's a lay bench that's actually doing this?
So it's a justice of the peace. So bail hearings are regularly overseen by justices of the peace, and they do not have to be legally trained. They're appointed by the provincial government, and obviously are trained in what it is that they are trying to do. But it's my understanding this particular JP doesn't have a background as a lawyer, but from what I can tell, and I think that this generally holds true, he's still exercising.
So it's almost like trying to do it by like a jury idea where it's a member of the community that's
not exactly trusted. No, this is someone who works in the courthouse, right? So they are regularly overseeing these types of hearings or remands or that kind of thing. So this is his job. But it's not someone who has like a background of law school necessarily.
Does that bother anybody else? Because I'm bothered.
That's why I asked the question.
No, it's normal.
I'm bothered by
Justice
that.
of the peace. This is kind of what they do. Like,
yeah, I have mixed. I would want to like articulate or refine my thoughts a little bit better. It's
it's a different discussion.
Cons, obviously,
You're right.
I never let that get in the way of me speaking. Wouldn't you put somebody that has some sense of the fucking law in front of Pat King, one of the biggest douchebags in the country right now? Like,
I don't have those apprehensions based on the questions that the JP has been asking.
Okay.
So,
but they also don't
he's...
assign judges to work certain cases. Aren't they just in a schedule and it just filters down? You happen to get that case? Like, do they match?
I don't know the exact mechanics of how it works.
You've never read a Grisham novel, obviously.
As a lawyer, you can't really pick your judge, right? So how it works on the inside, I don't know.
Okay, so over under, like, what do you think is gonna if you were to take your best legal guess according to the prosecution and the defense and what you saw today in Pat King's bail trial? What do you think? What's your guess?
I think he gets house arrest with an ankle monitor and probably a $50,000 pledge.
Yeah. Which leg do you think he'll put the ankle bracelet on?
I hope he starts a GoFundMe for his bail.
If it goes on the other one, he could always just
take it off and
just
say I'm
leave
home.
it at home.
Well, the Surety is apparently a light sleeper with a dog who also was a light sleeper.
Let's talk about her for a second.
They met on the convoy.
Yeah, this is Kellyanne Comics is her name, or Kelly Jolie Comics. Carrie Comics. That's her name, Carrie Comics. Huge proponent of this. She's in Ottawa for this. And she got dragged through it where they're like, hey, how much money you got to put up for him? She's like, well, I have an inheritance, but in my house is like, I got 50 grand in my house, I guess. Like she could stand to lose it all if he does one thing wrong, right? She could lose her house. She
doesn't report it. Yeah.
Yeah. Like she could lose everything if she's a surety. Because that's all she has.
That point has been made for sure. That it would be a massive betrayal of trust, and I think that is what the defense lawyer is trying to drive home. That in fact, it's a good thing that they don't know each other that well because she's not going to let his bad behavior slide because she stands so much to lose, or stands to lose so much, which is an argument.
What if is there any is she facing any charges now that she's admittedly been a part of the convoy? It's like well known that she's part of the convoy. Like
I
don't understand. Like if because she admitted I came here with him. Does that not make her an accomplice to the crimes that he's committing?
So the crimes he's being charged with are mischief and then counseling. Obstruction of justice, and one other one that I forget. So she hasn't been charged.
Yeah, there was a counsel to commit like a probation offense or something. I think it was.
Disobey court order. That's right.
Disobey court order.
I don't know how anybody would be
but
allowed
no treason or sedition or threatening to kill a government employee or nothing. Okay,
but
because he did.
My question is. My question came just because I was remembering when Chris Sky was when his surety was that what's his name. Z, and he was charged as well, and they got caught up in something and got arrested together, but he still ended up being a surety for the previous how does this
they've never been arrested together as far as I know. There was a video of Z getting maybe arrested at a gas station or Tim Hortons. Okay, so we're back in court.
You gotta go.
So
okay, you go.
I'm gonna dip out. I can, if you guys are still around, I'll come back. But otherwise, we'll catch up another time.
All right. Talk to you soon. Thanks a lot.
Thank you,
Karima. Thanks a lot, you guys. You fucked me over because I wanted to ask about Tamara Lich. And there you go, on and on and on with other questions.
We're also
about Pat King. I know, fucking assholes.
There's a scene in the new.
You can't read my minds yet. Fuck.
There's a new.
You have a mute button. You could have shut us up.
Yeah.
There's a scene in the Pam and Tommy show.
Yeah.
So the Motley Crue story about the tape that got released, Pam and Tommy tape, and they shoot to this writer's room, and they're writers for Jay Leno, and they're watching the video in the writing room, and they're trying to come up with jokes, or they're discussing whether or not Jay is going to be actually into talking about this celebrity sex tape. And there's this one point where Tommy has a boner and he uses his dick and he honks the horn on on the boat. You may have seen it.
Yeah.
And then one guy goes, did he just honk the horn on the boat with his dick? And they
From
all
the
go,
passenger
yep.
seat?
And this is a bunch of writers. And they go, the jokes just write themselves. This is what this is. This is exactly what this is. He's got one leg. I'm sorry. I'm not going to be able to get past that.
No. I tried. I was trying to take the higher road.
Light risk.
We hadn't covered that, and I
Ankle
was watching the Pat King stuff on Karima's feed today, and then someone's like, "Old peg leg's in for a ride, eh?" I'm like, "Peg leg? What's this peg leg I hear?"
I had no idea.
so-
You guys were fucking with me.
I googled Pat King amputee. Sure enough, he lost a leg because he jumped off a house and he didn't bother getting his leg fixed. And he's like, just cut it off.
I
don't
don't
respect
him when he
it.
jumped off the house.
I don't like who I am because you made me laugh today about that. I don't like what that's done to me.
Let's take a guess of what he was doing
like
on
it.
the roof.
I do.
Okay,
Yeah.
come on. I'm thinking gutters. He was cleaning somebody else's gutters because he owed him some money.
I think he
Trying
got
to look
shot by
in some
bikers.
woman's window, probably.
Yeah, a biker's wife.
It's as close as we'll ever get to having consensual intercourse. Ooh.
That Odin logo that he wears is because he's branded as the biker's property now.
Yeah, that's true.
Oh,
Fucking wild, isn't it? Mubin Sheikh's going to join us coming up in a minute to talk about the Ukraine, and I guess we're going to war. It was kind of a new thing that I wasn't aware
if
of. but
Karima
one
gets any
thing to the
breaking
other.
news, though, can we hop back in on the Pat King stuff?
100%. She's coming back in as soon as she's
Hop? Nothing?
done. No. We'll jump right to it. I'm going to
It'll
lean
be an
on
easy
Pat King.
pivot.
I'm going to lean on Pat King later on for content. Get it?
Jimmy,
She'll be able to
Get it?
splinter a story and no problem.
You know, it could also double as a peg. That peg leg.
Get Jimmy, who cut your hair?
If he takes the foot off that leg,
actually
he can
had
use
someone
that
pay
in
to do
prison.
it.
Yeah.
That is
James
a
P.
long
White,
butt
ladies
plug.
and gentlemen. James P. White is here.
I'm changing the subject of making fun of an amputee to making fun of a little person.
No. You don't never do that on the show. If I'm on the fucking heater and I'm making fun of an amputee that deserves it, I'm allowed. Okay? Like, that is not a good amputee. That's a terrible amputee. Making fun of amputees for being amputees is one thing. Making fun of a piece of shit who also
Come on,
happens
he
to be an
fell off
amputee
a roof and didn't
is
fix his leg.
totally
and tells
different.
people he lost it in Afghanistan. We
Don't
got
you
a wide
ever
berth
do
here.
that to me again.
We got a
When it comes to
wide
Pat
berth.
King's leg, he's a little stumped.
Oh. Is the rest of the show going to be
All right, let's bring
peg leg
James
So,
on
jokes?
to
Jimmy,
talk about bullying.
I was just gonna say, Jimmy, we're talking about bullying now. Good.
Yeah.
News about Pat King. Pat King in a courtroom just said, quote, "Arr."
But that was because he was trying to spell his first name. There's no R. Oh, fuck.
Wait. Pat King just, "Arr, matey."
I hope they have crackers for his parrot.
I hope he has a friend named Paulie
Stale bread.
so he can be the cracker.
Oh my God.
Crackers for his parrot.
He doesn't have a leg to left to
Stand
stand
on.
on. That's good.
Yeah, not bad.
All right. Yeah, I guess
good.
that's the one.
Jimmy, how are you, buddy?
Good. Now that I just joined a podcast with a bunch of bullies.
Yeah.
Why don't you shut the fuck up?
We're
too?
actually all of us are impersonating Lachlan right now. I don't know.
Who are you talking to us with that fucking haircut?
Yeah, look at you, haircut.
Oh, you guys with no hair mock the ones that do.
That's
I got
That's
hair.
right.
You have luscious, glorious hair, Jimmy. I fucking
It's
am jealous.
amazing. Honestly, it's
a
unbelievable.
cloth.
We had that discussion this morning too. But, he can grow hair, and he heals like wildly quick. It's
It's like
remarkable.
Wolverine.
We need to test him. Yeah, somebody today said we
It's
should
Lil
do it.
Wolverine.
We should do a video
It's a wolf.
where we stab him and see how long it takes to heal.
That sounds like a fun time.
Came in from a listener.
You guys do know he's here to talk about an anti-bullying thing that he's doing, right? Like, you do know that.
Well, it
You do
wasn't
know-
like I was going to give him a gut shot, just in the shoulder. Look.
Jimmy's a little person. He works with
Fleshy
Locke
part
on
of
the
the
Locker
thigh.
Room in Edmonton at 95.7 Cruise FM in Edmonton, one of his co-hosts, and he's our friend, and he's got a great podcast called the Jedi Jimmy Podcast, where if you love Star Wars, you love podcasts, and you want to hear all about it from a little dude, that's your guy. But
brilliant.
you're doing something really cool. You're doing Pink Shirt Day. Now, It is tomorrow. I believe
Yeah.
you've had a record amount of signups at 957cruisefm.ca. Tell
More
us a
than
little bit of
doubled the signups this year.
awesome.
And it's a lot of classrooms and schools this year, so that's
Cool.
the real cool thing about it. And I'm so excited about it. Like Pink Shirt Day deals with bullying, like how to deal with Lachlan Cross on a daily basis. But
James is coming.
Yeah, I'm signing up right now.
But the cool thing is we I do have Mercedes Benz, or not Mercedes, Mercedes nickel. Oh wow. Jesse Lumsden and also Kelly Filardo. And it's going to be awesome. Like usually every year I do this Pink Shirt Day thing. It's just me talking. Now, I have people from different walks of life, people, even a few women who I don't know what their experiences are with the world and how they're discriminated against or bullied by either each other or by men in some cases, like when competing in sports.
Mm-hmm.
And it's, I've been telling people I'm nervous, but I think it's a little bit different than nerves. This is there's excitement, but see, this is a topic that's very emotional to me. It's a very important topic. It's something that means everything. But the reason why it means so much to me is because I only wish that when I was in school going through the crap that I went through, that I had stuff like this, that I had someone that I could hear stories, someone to talk to, someone to, get some encouragement from, because seeing what they've been through, I didn't, like, other than, my family and friends supporting me, I didn't get an outside view of what, other people went through, or and how they made it through it and how they became a success. And that's what this means to me more than anything. Even talking about bullying is being there, being that voice for the people that are going through the stuff that they're going through, and having all these other people on is really where it's at, is because it's more than just one voice. And then it also encourages the other people around the people that are being bullied to realize that if we all stand together, if we unite together, bullying can't happen or is less likely to happen. Mm-hmm. It's always going to happen, but if it's not cool, it might go away.
Mm-hmm. Well, if people stand up and say, hey, listen, we don't want you treating a human being like shit, that would be the ideal thing. But kids don't have that, because a lot of kids get this jam from treating someone poorly, bullying someone because they feel badly about themselves, right? And I'm shocked at the roster you have, Jimmy, because you've got Mercedes Nickel, not Benz, by the way, that's a car.
Yeah.
You got Mercedes Nickel, 4-time Olympic snowboarding athlete. You've got Jesse Lumsden, hell of a football player, former Olympic athlete. You've got Kelly Filardo, burn victim, who's had to fight through surgeries and perceptions and all the things that lead to bullying. Pardon me?
Since she was 2.
Since she was 2. Yeah, I mean,
her story's crazy what she went through.
But it comes for everybody, right? Like the decline in mental health, where you don't get that help, or you show up to live your life, or in this journey through this world, you're on this path and you've got like everybody else, and it's just as treacherous as everybody else's path. But when people throw logs into your way, when you're just trying to navigate life as a 10-year-old boy like you did, or you're an Olympic athlete and you're having problems upstairs and you're trying to figure out why you don't have confidence, what it is that's wrong with you, what's going on with your mental health, just knowing that there are people like you and like that are around to be able to say, we're on the other side and let's do something about it together. You're right. I mean, I don't remember those symposiums going around my school when I was a kid.
Nope.
So the fact that you're doing this with the support that you're doing is hero stuff, Jimmy. It really is, and I mean that.
But the thing is, though, is our whole purpose in life, or at least in my opinion, is to make a difference in one way, shape, or form. Have it be in radio like we do, and doing some of the stupid stuff that we do, making people laugh, making people have a good day during the pandemic. When shit's going sideways, you give somebody, a reason to smile in the day, or, again, doing something like this where you're, just giving that little bit of encouragement. That's where it is. It's not about, hey, good job, Jimmy. It's about, I truly believe as human beings, we are here to support each other. It doesn't matter in which way, shape, or form. It doesn't matter. Like a prime example of, supporting someone else. Like I always joke on how much Lachlan's an a-hole. I do that all the time, but he's my biggest supporter other than my family. He's the guy that's, helped build this thing from the day one. He's like, we got to make this big. This is what we need to do. He's been working hard on this too. And, I can't take all the credit, like with you, Dean, and with Rock and with all that stuff. It's just, the thing is there, I get a lot of support from Locke, a lot of heckling, a lot of, him playing clips of my podcast and slowing it down so I sound drunk every time I'm doing a podcast. But like,
that's just out of love.
That's him having.
I didn't know he did that, Jimmy. I had no idea he was doing that. I had
Tune
no
in
idea.
tomorrow.
Lock,
I'm slowing down his entire first cast.
It's so good.
He read the news.
So Jimmy, listen, we're happy to be a part of it, and you can still sign up for it, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. Can you sign up to be part of Pink Shirt Day in the symposium with Jimmy, Jesse?
Send any of us a note, and we'll get you on.
We'll get the link. Yeah. You can't sign up through the document right now, but if you send anybody of us a note on social media, or even us on the show on Monday or
tomorrow at 11 a.m. Yeah.
Tomorrow 11 a.m. right here through all your socials at JPWhite957, at Lachlan Cross on Twitter. It'll be on our socials as well. I'm very excited to see this, and I'm really thankful that you're here, Jimmy. Thank you very much for doing this. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jimmy.
Okay, buddy.
You're a good man, Jimmy.
Good luck. Can't
and
wait.
by the way, you look fucking awesome with that fresh shave and a haircut.
Yeah, he does.
Hey,
like a porn star, really.
I didn't want to look like a homeless person when doing an anti-bullying program.
Yeah, last year was a little rough. We got some clips from last year's video, and he looked like he just came in from outdoors.
You don't want to be doing an anti-bullying thing when you look like a fucking dirty ass transient. Jesus.
No, but last year, in my defense, I wasn't shaving until I got the vaccine, and I got the vaccine 6 months later.
We shouldn't talk about that bit.
All right. Well, good. Glad you did. Jimmy, I'm excited to see you tomorrow. Thanks for doing this, and I'll talk to you tomorrow.
Thank you.
Take care. James P. White, ladies and gentlemen. Pink Shirt
We talked
Day
him
right
into
here on the network.
not shaving until he got vaccinated. I know.
He looked ridiculous, too. Like, just ridiculous.
No, he looked awesome.
No, he didn't.
He looked awesome. There's days I pick him up and he gets in the car and I'm just like, dude, do you always have to look like you rode in on the outside of the vehicle, like clinging to the back?
Are you seriously talking about Mubin like that in front of him?
I am not talking about
right
Mubin.
here.
Somebody else.
Uh-oh.
He can kill you just looking at you.
Mubin Shaikh, ladies and gentlemen. Mubin Shaikh, counter-terrorism expert, all-around good guy, radicalization educator.
My absolutely favorite new podcast, like Mubin.
It's
Spies
so
Like Us are
good.
amazing.
It is Spies Like Us. It's so good.
You doing your next one's on Russia, right? We got some Russia to talk
Wednesday.
about. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
To talk about?
I don't know what order they put the episodes in, so I kind of find out the night before.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but you'll find out on Wednesday morning.
Well, I'm excited. Listen, I can tell you what's on it because you tweeted about it earlier. It's about Russia. It's about the Ukraine and Russia. That's what it's about.
Could be.
Wow,
right,
that's
bro?
arm's
You
length.
right?
Eh?
You'll have to do it on Wednesday.
You good?
He could talk about what they were like having for lunch that day that they were like infiltrating something, and I would be glued to that podcast. He'd be like, "What? He put what on that? Garlic sauce?"
Well, it's because like Mubin has seen things.
Yeah,
like when you know the phrase that guy's seen some shit.
Yeah.
This guy's seen some shit.
Right?
Like, and when you listen to his podcast, you get this like this cold feeling. At least I do from you, Mubin. I get this cold feeling when it's like, I'm pretty sure this guy isn't scared of anything, which scares me even more.
Yeah. I like it when you shit talk your CIA guy.
Yeah. I mean, when does a brown Muslim guy get to trash talk the CIA and not be rendered
and not be Saudi Arabian?
I don't know if
it's totally
everybody
crazy.
gets the irony of that,
Guantanamo
but
Bay.
I laugh out loud every time you take a shot at him.
Good. Brandon, I love you, buddy.
Yeah.
Let's go, Brandon. Brandon Blackburn, by the way.
Yeah, your
Hey.
co-host.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's
Brandon Blackburn.
not go, Brandon.
Mubin Shaikh is a counterterrorism expert. Of course, he was a former jihadi. Undercover Jihadi is the name of his documentary. It is so good. Responsible for putting away the Toronto 18 and keeping us safe, and has been doing it for a long time. Really excited that you could join us today. I know you're busy, so we won't take up a ton of your time. But I want to get to what's going on in Ukraine, because you obviously are plugged into that. And we know yesterday Putin was like, I'm going in, and they're going in today, apparently. But I want to talk about extremism in Canada. I want to talk about what we've seen in Ottawa. Mubin, you and I have had several conversations. We actually had one, and I wish you were here a little bit earlier. I'm glad you're here now. But we were talking about extremism and whether or not there are extremist elements in this that should be represented in the discourse of what us talking about keeping Canadians safe, right?
Yeah.
So what is it that because you've been very outspoken about Coutts being a terrorist organization that infiltrated part of this, but what is it about extremism or terrorism that you're seeing that is being represented in this group? And maybe you could kind of fill us in, because a lot of people have these conversations about, oh, they're all bum rap, they're not all racist, they're not all terrorists, but there's a definite extremist / terrorist angle to this, and it is religious in nature.
Yeah, well, the general thing with extremism is think about what we've been consuming over the past 20 years, right? Post 9/11, Western armies are in Middle Eastern countries, Muslim lands, and this tends to always happen whenever if the military is in a foreign country, and people from those places are also in your country. Then they're probably going to end up getting discriminated against, or at least more attention is going to be brought onto them. And a lot of times that attention isn't positive. So when we hear extremism, we kept thinking that it was something over there. We never really thought that it could be something over here, in our backyards. And so that's the reality, I think, reality check that a lot of us are getting. Mind you, we've been seeing this over the past 2 years, the anti-vaxxers and what they've been doing. And it's amusing to me in one way, because just watching how, because when the whole anti-lockdown, people were protesting like as soon as the lockdowns were announced, like probably February 2020. I remember I was keeping track, as I do, and one of the things is they just kept proliferating. There was no consequences, and so it slowly, if you will, crept into the public space until it then showed up in the public space, complete with trucks and honking and everything else. So the reality check I think I want to make is that extremism is something that affects everybody. I mean, if the ingredients are there, then that's the output that you're going to find. And so that's exactly what we're seeing now, is that those ingredients, extremist ideology in many cases, like you said, like far right evangelical type Christianity is very much involved. Remember, what's his face there, Pawlowski, you Gestapo, street church pastor, or whatever his name is. So I mean, this guy was going to the U.S. He was meeting with Mike Flynn, other members of the insurrectionist / MAGA movement. They latched onto his cause. This kind of laid the foundation for what we ended up seeing, which was a full-out assault on Canadian culture by the far right in America, right? Just platformed by Fox News and funding, and legislators now talking about making laws so that Canadians can flee the tyrannical regime of Canada.
Jesus.
legit as like refugees.
Members' bills,
To
Passing
which
members'
Canada
bills.
said no refunds.
Yeah.
Well,
I have
there
a
was a
question.
movement by a woman in the United States, and it started to catch fire, and we retweeted it the other day because I said 34.5 million people will help them pack.
Yeah.
But there was a bill that was supposed to be sponsored where she called Canada tyrannical and dictatorial, and she said she was sponsoring a bill to allow refugees in Canada's political nightmare to be go to the United States. But is that acting, or are they just part of the same? It's all theater, exactly reject theater, right?
Yep. What they've been doing is they're consuming what's happening in Canada, filtering it through their own, hyper polarized American culture, and then feeding that product back to their own constituents, right? Their own audience. So it's like it goes through like two phases of, I don't know what you want to call it. I mean, it's all that meth they cook down there, so they're really good taking. The joke has always been Canada's that fancy apartment upstairs of the meth lab below.
Yeah.
And so they're just cooking up everything they can. It's just the ridiculous things. I don't know if you saw what Rudy Giuliani put out. No. I don't know if he was trying to be satirical or whatever, but like it was something about Trudeau is I don't know if he was taking babies or what he was doing, but and then Candace Owens is like, forget about Ukraine, you invade Canada.
Yeah,
like,
I saw that one.
Like these people are
She's so smart though, so it's hard not to argue with her.
You know, just lost a court case to the fact checker guy Martin Schenk over at Lead Stories. She just lost that, and it cost him 100 grand. Just yeah, sorry, Locke, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, that's perfectly okay. Mubin, we've had this sort of weaved the racial components of this Ottawa occupation in and out of our conversations on the podcast, and I think everyone's trying to stay away from muddying the waters right now, but it's something we're definitely gonna have to, as we figure out what the hell happened and why it happened, it's definitely something we're gonna have to dig into as we progress here, especially if these protests continue to happen, which is my prediction. How much of a racial part plays into what happened in Ottawa, in your opinion? The fact that the police may have handled this differently if somebody was of a different skin color and they were behind the wheel of a semi truck trying to park downtown Ottawa. Do you think that plays into? Obviously it does, but how much of a factor does it play into what happened?
Okay, so here's my hear me out. I don't believe that it had anything to do with if they were brown, that the police would have gone in or anything like that. And I'll tell you why. Because while it is true, obviously we've seen, every other protest that happens, Indigenous peoples and whatever else, those protesters, BLM, everybody, they did not bring out 8,000 people with their vehicles and their cars and lay siege to an area for protest. They've just never done that. Anytime those protests have been dealt with in a tactical manner, it's always been a small group of people. And I know people want to think that, right? And I get that. Obviously, there are obvious racial disparities, institutional racism, all that stuff. But I just see it from the perspective of there were just way too many people there for the Ottawa police to have been able to deal with. You asked what happened and what we will eventually find out. And I don't know to what point the government is going to involve themselves, whether there's going to be a proper formal inquiry or not. But the reality, I think, is this, unfortunately, politicians, man, like it's unfortunate that they only think about their political interests, and like they really don't. I shouldn't say all politicians, fine, but I'm just making a generalization because
you're okay here, Mubin.
All right,
yeah, we make them all the time. Way worse ones too. Yeah.
You're among cynics. You're good.
All right, great. Cynics are realists, so you're my people, man, my people.
My God.
The fact is that on the province of Ontario could have invoked an Emergencies Act like measure, which would have started this process to begin with earlier. I believe, and this came out very clearly, is that the politicians, certain political party, wanted to make this a problem for Trudeau by refusing at the provincial level to invoke some kind of emergency act. It forced the federal government to have to do that. And so then it became, first it was, why isn't the government doing anything? And then it was, well, how come the government's doing this? right? And so it just became politicized. We could see the different politicians who are out there kind of giving the thumbs up, openly endorsing and supporting the convoy, and then one time saying, "Oh yeah, guys, maybe leave," but then completely like it's weird, like why they would even try to put up that appearance that they were trying to tell these people to leave. So that's what happened. It could have been dealt with. I mean, they let it go on for so long. The Ottawa police was in a very tough situation. Like in the beginning, they burned so much of their credibility because the people were like, why aren't the police doing anything? Like, stop this, put a stop to it. And really, in the beginning, they didn't know, like, what do you do with this? Is it like, is this allowed as a protest? By the time everyone showed up, there were a bunch of like several thousand people on the hill, and that's fine. You can go there and protest all day long. But then, as more trucks show up, and it just ballooned into something that the Ottawa police could not handle. And that's why I'm totally in support of the Emergencies Act, because you can see no Emergencies Act, siege goes on for 20 days. Emergency Act invoked, siege is over in 5 days, right? Like several days. So
I just read something that said that read something that said that they removed them and sort of dealt with the convoy and dismantling everything with no tools from the Emergencies Act.
Who's that?
I think it was like Reuters or something. It was
That's
one of the
wrong.
mainstream outlets.
Well, and this is a good point, because what is the Emergencies Act? People forget that it just allowed the federal government to be able to bring to bear more tools that a municipal level government could not do and a provincial level government could not do. One of the big things was getting the RCMP to be able to enforce municipal and provincial laws. This was like, it's a legal technicality, obviously, with police services and jurisdictions. Also, being able to basically order tow truck companies to come in and tow the vehicles, because remember, for the longest time, they didn't want to. They were
scared.
to do it. They're out of fear. Exactly, out of fear. So there were some things, and even the
legislation as well, Mubin, dictates that you can't, like, if you are in enforcement in BC, you can't, without a certain steps, you can't go take your badge and your uniform and head to Ottawa.
Yeah.
So the Emergency Acts nixed that as well. And, and some of the, like, they shut down businesses in and around that area where they that was an Emergency Act thing from what I was reading. Like they shut everything down.
The money was Emergency Act. The local business owners themselves were like, they didn't like what was happening, because who's going to come to their store with all these people outside, many of whom are menacing and threatening, as we see anytime media cameras from any side show up. It was a MAGA rally. It was a Trump rally. This is the mindset and the kind of people that you're dealing with. It's the same people that were saying, make Canada great again after Trump was doing his Make America Great Again. So who's going to go and frequent those businesses with these kind of people outside?
So question then, you've kind of laid out I've got two questions. One, because you laid out the fact that a lot of these people are just radicalized individuals. They all took part in this. They all showed up. There were so many of them. We saw a picture of Tamara Lich, who I call Tammy. Tamara, who was denied bail, her and her husband. If you do any reading on Tammy and Dwayne, that they didn't have the facilities to be able to become crypto magnates in the middle of an insurrection.
Shut up, Dwayne, I'm talking.
So, like, you talked about Artur Pawlowski. You're not going to get my Jesus. That guy. You talked about him. Who are these people? Clearly, these guys didn't have the facilities or the tools to be able to pull any of this off. And if they did, it's amazing to me, because they're all dumber than the next guy or girl. So who do you think at the end of the day, what names, what organizations were the ones that were kiting into Canada to push this thing?
Yeah, there were. I mean, there's obviously a number of organizations that have been behind it. You can see from, I think the ADL just released a report about how like 1,100 people who supported the insurrection also supported the convoy, right? So that's the people that you're talking about, right? These are the people. The Pawlowski and others. I mean, they're religious zealots. They're extremists, right? They are religious extremists by definition. And it's just unfortunate that, you know, I remember like just from the Muslim community, how even with my local mosque, I was like, look, man, please follow all the protocols, you know, to the T, because one Muslim guy does something or one mosque does something and it will be just, look at the Muslims, they're allowed to do it. How come we can't? How come they can get away with it? So I didn't want, you know, even people from my own community to give any kind of excuse. But man, like on that side, they were openly flouting rules. You know, nobody, you know, blames all Christians because of what they're doing. You know, there's a clear disparity when, you know, one member of a group does it, and when another group, that's usually the majority group, it's not seen as so bad. So the fact that this guy Pawlowski was able to get away with as much as he did, travel to the U.S., you know, while he's doing all these things, it's just, you know, we allow these things to happen, and then after we've allowed them to happen, we're like, oh, how did this happen? So
I think as a network, Dean, we should start trying to maybe start criticizing Christianity a little. You know?
I do it every day. It's like my brother sent me a note. He's like, "Can you stop bagging on us?" And I'm like, "I don't think so, dude."
Yeah.
I
remember
don't
John
think
Kay
so.
was like, "James, stop supporting the burning of churches," and I'm like, "Fuck you! I'm not
You
gonna."
know, I enjoy that. Yeah. Okay. So who's Diagon? I am familiar with them, but this is the terrorism tie-in to the extremism to the Ottawa rally. So who is Diagon?
Yeah, so we talked about extremism. Extremism is, you know, ideas that support the use of violence or otherwise, you know, turn a blind eye to narratives that talk about violence. It's not people who are actually committing the violence. Those people we call violent extremists, also known as terrorists. So if all the groups, the Coutts border, the individuals or the people that were arrested in that weapons siege, I think easily fall into the category of violent extremists. Obviously, I mean, you know, their ideas were to lie in wait for the police. If they moved on the blockade, they would kill the police. They belong to. It remains to be seen what the level of contact is between Diagon and this group. You know, Chris Lysick was one guy, like he's a big bodybuilder dude. Who was arrested. You know, he's definitely been in touch with Jeremy McKenzie. There are probably some other links that are going to come out because there's a lot of attention now on this group and on this network. Just looking at the weapons, I mean, body armor, for example, you can't purchase unless you have some kind of either police license or something along those lines.
Can't get it on Amazon?
Well, I don't know. Probably you could. I wonder.
Yeah,
If,
you
it wouldn't
can.
surprise me if you could. But it's not a prohibited. It's not a prohibited item. It's not like you know. But normally, that's the case. But the other weapons that were there, like full capacity magazines, different AR platforms. I mean, the long rifle and the shotguns, those are okay. Those are not inherently prohibited, but the others are, and those are like, how did you get a hold of them, right? So. Over the U.S. border, obviously. So that's going to tentacle out into a much bigger investigation. We just caught a little bit of it, but that's the real, I think, the most violent extremist element emerging.
That's the terror tie-in when you point out terror or other people point out terror, because there are a lot of people that are still doing the whole fascist apologist bullshit, right? They're still doing the whole, oh no, it's not that bad, it's not those guys, it's like, and we go back to the same thing.
They just showed up.
You permit it, it's just,
there was a barbecue,
but
and the guy came,
but like they're legitimately splitting those hairs. Depending on your political background, right? Like these guys weren't that bad, but are they? Is Diagon bad?
Oh yeah. Oh, they're bad. They're very bad, and largely because of, you know, they have a core group of individuals who are former military, former police, probably also active military and active police. So that's a major aggravating factor. That will draw the attention of the intelligence services. The fact that these are people who, because remember, the Canadian Security Intelligence Service does the security screening and backgrounds for the military. So all these people who were, you know, in whether it's even special operations or police, etc., the intelligence service wants to know, right? And they do know, and it's not at all an exaggeration or whatever. You should expect that the service has infiltrated their networks, Diagon's networks, Sure, there are people in the network who are feeding information to the authorities, but these guys are dangerous. Their ideology is quite problematic. In fact, if there was, like how we listed the Proud Boys, all right, back, that was purely theatrical. It was political. They had no teeth. I mean, Proud Boys in Canada are not terrorists. They're not at that level. But Diagon should be designated as a terrorist group. And so they're a better
Have you ever
candidate.
seen anything like that domestically here, Mubin, that you can compare it to?
Diagon, there has been for sure. In fact, you can go way back if you want into the 80s. People forget. People think that.
Hey, I'm from the 80s. Don't say way back.
Yeah, me too.
Oh, so
Fuck, man.
we're all Gen X. The Heritage Front was a white supremacist organization that was very active. I mean, it had actually
Stephen
Reform
Harper.
Party members got caught up in that. So that was a big deal. Plus, hell, you could go further back into the history of the KKK in Edmonton, Alberta. There's still signs of that even today.
What province?
Yeah.
So it's been around for a long time.
Alberta?
Yeah.
Get the fuck out of here, Mubin. Are you serious?
Yeah.
So-
Guess what? I bet you there's some fucking racists in Ontario. Too.
Oh, there's a ton here.
Little
Yeah,
bit,
there's a
little
ton
bit.
just north of me, actually.
Totally.
Yeah, they're all over the place.
They
It's
all
just
live
a
around
little
me,
town.
actually.
Mubin,
Can
I find it. I thought you asked your question, Ryan.
No, I was just the segue into my question.
Oh.
Okay, then
What do
you
you
go.
think? What do
go.
you think the end game? Why so much U.S. interest in this? What's the actual payoff for that much investment and time and propaganda and money coming from the U.S. in our democracy? What do you think the end game for them is? Other than do you think it's just the extremist Christian thing, or do you think there's something else at play here?
Yeah, I mean, what you're seeing is, the same U.S. elements that were the far right that are upset basically at the loss of, Trump not being the president. They're just, it's a tantrum that they're
But why
having.
would they throw money at Canada for that?
They're gonna keep it going because that money machine is what's gonna fund their election campaigns coming up.
Yeah, it brings up.
You're
money.
right.
It's a big ecosystem and environment. And it's not just the money, but what it does is it keeps those people who are ideologically attached, it keeps them committed. You keep talking about it, you generate a new problem or just feed the
Increase your
machine.
network.
Holy shit!
Yeah,
eh?
your reach all of a sudden goes across
Fascinating.
borders. and things
Yeah.
like that. When I was a kid, my grandfather sold suits to the mafia, and I would sit on the desk and watch these mobsters come in. And you know what? I find it really strange that they didn't wear the name Mafia on the back of their shirts. Like these diagonal guys do. Like, this is what I mean. The extremists and like these kind of extremists, they're kind of like, hey, how you doing? I fucking hate people. You know what I mean? Like, and I don't understand why are they like
'cause
that?
it's more
They're doing
ideological.
themselves a favor in a way.
They're
aren't
still
they?
More
very-
ideology than it is money.
These are the people who are really into this symbolism and not just the ideology, but the symbolism, right? The idea of, especially like somebody who comes from a military background, like they love flags, okay? And even it's something that they've been conditioned to, and
Identity politics.
it is identity politics. It's a way to literally wave your identity in everyone's face. But if you think back to like giving the example of mafia, and even if you think about bikers, like organized crimes, organized criminal organizations like that, the smarter ones, like for example, I remember reading about there was some biker infiltration story, and the guy says that the smart ones traded the leather jackets and the blue jeans for suits and briefcases.
With
right?
sleeves,
So the
so
smarter
that they can
ones
cover
are
their prison tats.
That's right, and so you always find these two categories in these sorts of groups: the very open, in your face ones, and then you have the very secret, covert ones that are flying under the radar.
What I'm getting caught up in, Mubin, is the assessment of blame, and everybody wants to put this whole thing. Everybody wants to put it in camps and put labels on it, and then there's you're walking it out, and then you're walking it back, and we keep having the conversation about the association with the, you know, the symbolism, the flags you keep talking about, and whether or not that they should be held liable if I am just a good Christian that drives a truck that believes in the Bible and I'm on my way to get my freedoms back and I can't stand Justin Trudeau, but then somebody standing next to me is chanting the same thing I'm chanting and he's got a Nazi flag on, you know, on his back. Should the group take some responsibility for the outside actors that showed up at these protests? And the Coutts example is even more interesting to me because that group, and there's a lot of pushback. We're getting it, even just reporting on it. The fact that that group wasn't the organizing body of the Coutts blockade, but they were there. They're like, they were not part of it. The Coutts thing is different. There's a lot of that sort of pushback. How much responsibility do you think this group that was in Ottawa should be responsible for the outside actors that infiltrated the protest?
Yeah. So it is true that the group that was arrested there is not connected formally to the organizers of the blockade. And that's okay because, you know, a small group of people who show up with guns, with plots to kill the police are not going to broadcast it to everybody out there. So absolutely, I don't expect the organizers to know about what these people were doing. But once you learn that this is a kind of group that was there under the cover of your blockade, then it would make sense for you to. And in fact, to their credit, they did do that. They realized that, holy crap, we don't want to be associated with this, and so they basically, you know, put a stop to it. But let's use this analogy or this example with what was happening in Ottawa, because if I can guarantee you, if somebody showed up with a, you know, pro-Trudeau flag, that they would rip that flag right down, trample on it, and put it in the garbage. Why didn't they do that with the swastika flag? Why didn't they do that with the Confederate flag? Because that's the ideology that they're comfortable with, or at least if they're not personally neo-Nazis. I'm not claiming that everybody there was a neo-Nazi, but if you see a flag like that, like, don't you think that people around you would say, look, we don't want, you know, we don't want a bad rap for our group. We want to portray it as we're being peaceful. Like, you should have ripped that flag down, or at least told that person, yo, get rid of that flag and leave. But they didn't, right? And so, but I don't even know why we're so surprised. I mean, the organizers themselves are like avowed white supremacists.
Yeah.
That's not even arguable. And so, surprise, there's a neo-Nazi, there's a swastika flag there. You know, you got to ask yourself, what is it about my ideas that makes people like that attracted to them?
Mm-hmm.
So
I think a lot of people don't realize how much this, like, even a shithead like Pat King gives license to closeted racists, that people that they might not be like virulent, you know, it might just be like a weird underlying fucking, not even a hatred, but like a distaste,
quiet
for
racism.
Well, a distaste for, like we were talking about John Kay earlier, about how he doesn't like it when marginalized groups get something he doesn't.
Yeah,
like that pisses some people off to the point where they can identify with that almost. And
have you been to Alberta or Saskatchewan or out west? Have you been out
that's
there?
what I mean, though. It's like don't call me racist. I'm just a heritage enthusiast. Like, fuck off. You know, like
I'm a heritage enthusiast.
You know what I mean?
I'm just a collector of nooses. I don't understand what the problem is.
So I think we spend a lot of time trying to make excuses for them not being racist when we realize a big fucking chunk
Well, only
of
the
them are
people
racist.
involved. Only the people involved in it are spending any time saying these guys.
No,
aren't
we
racist
do it
when
in
you
this
know that
show
they're racist.
too.
I don't.
I know
just
you
think
don't.
it's important you don't generalize 12,000 people or whatever it was. That's all. Like,
I like doing that
I've
too.
always been. I think the consistency, the principle or whatever, is the consistency of the careful use of language. And I'll tell you why. The reason why a lot of these white people are all pissed off is because they don't take it in the way that it's intended, and sometimes it is offensive, and they just get too mad at it. But you'll never see on the in a headline in like a typical liberal or whatever magazine or newspaper something like 10 things that black men need to shut up about. You just would never ever see that because they would be considered racist. but you would see the white man version of that article. And they don't distinguish the difference. They don't sit there and go, well, historically, the reason why they do this is because of oppression. They don't do that. They just go, what's good for the goose, good for the gander. Why is this happening to us? And they feel not oppressed.
There's a
but they feel
caveat
like
to that, though, James. We're in a world where we're told constantly that we need to be woke, that everybody needs to be, and I think that over woke side is pushing the buttons of the
They hate it.
They hate it, and that's what comes up constantly when I get pushback on social media or whatever about any views. It's about the over woke world that we live in. I mean, fuck. There's a reason why Don Cherry keeps trending every
Saturday.
They're
He's
still
been fired
mad.
for like 3 years, and they're still mad about it.
Still mad that Don Cherry
fucking day.
Yeah.
But it should be. But it should be kind of. I mean, I hate it too. Not in a serious way. I hate it because I know that it's inflaming dumb people to hate people of color. That's why I hate it. Like it's just so.
Well, there's lots to hate there. I mean, it's we live in a fucking weird world that got weirder yesterday when Putin was like, "Yeah, I think I'm going to go."
I was just going to say, speaking of hate, why does Putin hate Ukraine so much?
So you've apparently we're going to war. Third World War, is that it? Like I'm seeing World War III trending. Mubin, you've commented on this several times. What's happening in Ukraine?
We're almost out of COVID, man. I don't want to get out of COVID and go into a world war.
Right into war. Dude, I tweeted the other day that I would go and sign up if there was a form letter somewhere. I might sign up to go and fight for Ukraine.
Oh boy, my God, foreign fighter.
It's
I want Robin Williams.
I want to just echo what James.
Up that vape juice and head over.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Take the microphone. You can.
I want to reiterate what James was saying about being precise in language and not generalizing. And he's absolutely right about even I don't like these kinds of articles which like dear white people or whatever. Like it's offensive. Like if I was a white person, I would be like, like if I could imagine if it said like, okay, all Muslim people, It's like, whoa. Yeah. Something. And that's just not helping. That's just really not helping. You don't want to be telling, all white people that, oh, you're all racist because, you hate Trudeau, right? It can be two different things. It's possible for it to be mutually exclusive, right? And
I'm not a racist and I hate Trudeau.
Yeah, I'm not racist. I hate everyone equally.
I hate Trudeau because he's white, though.
So on the Ukraine thing, right? I don't know if you watched the UN Security Council hearings yet, or UN Security Council meeting yesterday, emergency meeting last night. Russia is the president of the UN Security Council at the moment.
Yeah.
So it's funny having to. He had to basically oversee everybody else making comments against Russia in his capacity as the president. And then at the end, he switched to his capacity as a representative of the Russian Federation, and then said what he said. But it's not good. It's like it's almost like the breakup of like Yugoslavia, right? Different countries emerged from it. This is what Russia is trying to do, right? Ukraine, they just canceled out, nullified the territorial integrity of Ukraine. Every country in the UN is like, this goes against like the very basics of the UN Charter. So very clever, though. I mean, we kind of expected that.
Can you do a favor, Mubin, just for people that are watching, including myself, in a very, very broad sense? Can you explain why Russia's doing this?
Yeah. Russia wants to be great again. Russia feels that at the breakup of the Soviet Union, they just continue to decline, and they realize that they need to shore up their dignity again, and that dignity is connected with bringing back those countries that were broken away from Russia. That's the main thing. They just want to reclaim their lost glory.
And that's it. It's just a dick wagging contest.
There's energy tied into it though too. There's oil.
Yeah,
there's
always money. Always money. I think that.
Yeah.
Mubin, I've made a couple of comments about the Russian-Ukraine thing, and after hearing myself out loud, I always go back to this. Holy shit! You haven't got a fucking clue what you're talking about. Why are you saying this? So I'm glad you're here because you might have a better idea about this. I have this theory that Putin is taking a look at what's happening around the world, that we're very entrenched in our own sort of drama at home, that we've got weak leaders. He might perceive the leader of the United States, the leader of Canada, the new leader of Germany as weaker players in the grand scheme of things, and that is part of the reason why he's doing what he's doing right now. Have I got my head completely up my ass?
No, yeah, that's definitely part of his decision calculus, and it's not just we're distracted. It's Russia is like actively involved in fomenting that kind of disruption and distraction. It was done as soon as Trump started running. I was tracking this at the time. All kinds of disinformation accounts popping up. Like, for example, the Russians are like, this is what they do. They literally have a like multi-floor building, the Internet Research Agency. It's like a call center where they have people who are nonstop. It's true. Like they have shifts and they night and day, and they're posting stuff and creating accounts and Facebook pages and just fomenting and accelerating all this stuff. So certainly his tactic has been this for the long. I mean, this is something that he's been doing for a long time. Whether you want to go back to the beginnings of the refugee crisis. So what Russia did is they started to fund anti-refugee groups in like countries like Germany, France. We had a little uptick here in Canada as well. Like Pegida is a well-known group. So they start to come around. Then you start to see accounts online like claiming to be Black Lives Matter or claiming to be Muslims, like false, like fake Muslim accounts that will agitate within the American public. So now I start to see all these like couple of Muslim accounts popping up like, okay, like Muhammad so-and-so is suddenly he's like gung-ho convoy supporter. It's like, okay.
Yes, Muhammad from St. Petersburg here.
Yeah, right.
I didn't see a whole lot of Adidas tracksuits and squatting Balkans at Ottawa this weekend.
They're very smart because what they've done is they've been distracting security services for the longest time with these agitators, right? With low-level people just shit-talking, being racist, being bigots. And that's where the attention of law enforcement goes. And guess where the attention falls off of? The professionals that the Russians have doing
useful
what they're
idiots.
doing. So, yeah,
how much?
They know what they're doing.
Well, dude, over the past, I would say, because we may have published a link to the donor list, and listen, I'll shoot straight with you. I've had several meetings with some law enforcement people about it because of the credibility of the threats that I've received. And they told me, and I'm not kidding you, 80 to 90% of them have come from overseas. Like 80 to 90%, including from Proton Mail accounts that are in France. And the exchange that they use, to your point, Russian troll farm, big building, they go in shifts 24 hours a day. And the whole goal is to make people who are online that are fighting against whatever it is that they're proposing or trying to do, in our case, this Ottawa thing, their goal is to make people like us afraid to respond, afraid to tweet. And it's been like the biggest professional eye-opener of my life is that, we're not alone in this country. Like, the tentacles and the way that like Putin basically is just reaching into countries at this point. And I read something that said 60% of the misinformation that has been trafficked into Canada has been trafficked into Canada about the convoy by Russians. Is that accurate?
Yeah, it's not should not be a surprise to anybody. The Russians are very good at this. They find a wedge issue, and then they go to town with it. They fund it. They put all their accounts and their bots on it, and you can see it. You experience it all the time.
It happens in our comments here for the show.
Yeah. So this is what they do.
How is the West doing with our bot game? How's our disruption game going? Yeah. Like overseas?
Why don't we have our own bot game? Great question.
Yeah.
We say
I'm sure we do.
too much.
We must.
Well,
I just think it's funny that we get so like, oh my God, how could they do what we've been doing forever?
Yeah, we're too nice. We're too nice, number one. And the biggest thing I think is that we have checks and balances in the country here, right? Like we're not going to allow, the U.S. does it through the State Department. They have some ways in which they can do, but Canada doesn't do that. I mean, we try to respond, to disinformation by like debunking it and putting out true information, but
we're so Canadians.
It doesn't
work. It's
the app is
like
probably called Sorry.
Yeah, well, it's social media companies. Social media companies there's no consequences. There's no repercussions for them. They know that states are using their platforms to do this stuff. I mean, look now, like the public sphere is inundated with false information. Dangerous
and in pure lies, like pure lies, not even close to the truth.
Yeah,
like I was
pure
watching.
lies. That's right.
Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah.
And no accountability. And so, surprise, here we are inundated with disinformation.
That story about Brienne is true, though. Fuck her.
Probably.
She needs
Brienne
to go down.
956,000 emails to the governor general will get a non-confidence vote, and all that does is keep our idiots busy emailing them.
Yeah, well, look, they were telling people to call 911 with fake calls, many of which came out of the U.S. Right? So, I mean, it's a full-on. It's a cultural invasion, really. It's an attack on Canadian culture.
Sad.
I want to hang on.
Just one really quick one.
Sure.
Very quick. So quick.
No. You know what? I've decided against it. I'm going to go first.
Are you fucking kidding? Like
in
the middle of me asking the question?
I know. Does this worry you? Biden warns Russia the U.S. will defend every inch of NATO territory, saying he's moving troops into the Baltics. That just happened. Does it bother you?
Yeah, it's escalating, right? And there might be a low-level shooting war that's going to happen. And there will be possibly with casualties. They have different degrees of escalation that they can work on. In their decision calculus, a small number of troops that are killed, we can always deal with that, right? Oh, you killed American troops? Sad. Oh, boy, that's going to, let's have a meeting. Let's talk. Oh, maybe there'll be they'll just delay it. They'll just move more of their troops into their newly declared republics. And that part of Ukraine will be occupied by Russian forces for all intents and purposes.
James, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Well,
I
that's
did,
okay.
but I'm sorry.
It's okay. The Trump presidency sort of revealed a lot of different kind of strategies in a landscape that was completely untraversed. Like, they didn't know what to do with them. It seemed like Putin and him were cozy, but nothing really major happened between the two countries. A couple of weeks ago, Biden was doing a press conference, and someone had asked them, the American people are concerned about your faculties right now. Do you think they should be concerned? And he goes, I have no idea, which I thought was the funniest thing ever. And I'm just wondering if Biden's state of mind is sometimes seen as like a strategic thing to hold on to when it comes to, say, Russia or whoever else. Because then he's leading, a committee is leading, right? It's not necessarily him, but his cabinet are probably leaned on a lot heavier.
Forces task force that leads this.
Yeah. That wasn't quick, by the way.
I mean,
I had more time now that I wasn't being bombarded on the other end.
Mubin,
question.
Yeah, they're going to take they're going to take a hold of whatever they can to disparage the leader, whoever he is. That's obviously that the U.S. does the exact same thing. Or anytime there's an adversary, any little thing we can try to pick off of him, we'll try to do that, right? Like, look what happened in Canada, right? First it was Trudeau's, I think it was the swing set, then it was his socks, and then it was his eyebrows. Like, they'll just find something. And you can see that how bad the polarization is in the U.S. is that those same people on the right who are yelling communist this, communist that, are so anti-Biden that they're now pro-Putin when it comes to Russia and Ukraine.
Yeah. You know what? Trump did that.
Their minds, right? It's just a knee-jerk, go to the opposite of whatever, my adversary or my opponent believes in.
He tried it with Kim Jong-un, and he did it with Putin. Yeah, he did it with everybody.
It's surreal to watch, the party in the U.S. that was all about, anti-communism, and now they're just
sidle up to it.
We got to be anti-Biden more so.
Yeah, it's gross. I mean, just watching it from a distance, right? I know Canada has skin in the game. I think we sent lethal equipment over there. What is our role going to be if this whole thing shakes out?
Oh God. We're a middle power, so we really can't do that much. I mean, the bigger.
Oh, so the memes of sailboats being our frigate army, they're real.
Well, yeah, and it's okay. We don't have all the toys. That's fine, but we have all the brains. Mm-hmm. And a lot of trainers are over there, a lot of instructors. Yeah. And I think that's where it counts, right? It's
a couple hundred, I think.
Yeah. So,
are we sending troops? Canada send troops over there, you think?
We have troops that are over there already.
Yeah.
They've been deployed for a long time. So
I think we had 200 and they sent another 300, Mubin?
I don't know the numbers. I haven't followed up
Something
on that.
We're probably not going to put boots on the ground.
They've been there for several years.
Yeah, they've been there a long time, but
Yeah,
nobody's
we
We're probably
added-
not going
we
to put
added-
boots on the
No,
ground.
no,
Normally,
no,
these
no, that
people
would
are
be-
like target painters and stuff like that, but not
Yeah,
usually. Yeah.
My brother does work over in Ukraine, and his wife actually just got back last week. She had to get hustled out of the country with a bunch of different people, and she said there is a 12-minute long parade of tanks coming in from because they live in that region, and there's a 12-minute long parade of tanks from around the world that were being brought in. This was last week. Like, so much stuff has been going on that we don't see, right? But it's fascinating to me because, like, just get out of the pandemic. You know, we finished with Ottawa, and you can see who's, you know, disturbing the soup, so to speak. And I'm floored by it, to be honest with you, a little bit. Like, it's and I know I watch you breathe heavy when I ask you questions, Mubin, but this is serious. Like, this will be some kind of skirmish, it looks like, right?
Yeah, and the problem with this is that it can very quickly. It comes down to what if Putin has just decided, like, screw it. You know, he's obviously felt that there's no point in negotiating. I mean, you know, the UN, like, to hell with the UN. So it seems like they're isolating themselves, and let's see what happens with the sanctions. I think that's going to really hurt the actual Russian leadership this time, because the U.S. has anticipated a lot of things. And what I said in my tweet there about that, I don't know if the episode that we recorded is going to be the one that plays on Wednesday on Russia, but we did speak to a longtime CIA guy who was like, he was surprised at how quickly the U.S. was clearing intelligence and making it available to the public, saying that, you know, we know the Russians are going to do this, we know they're going to do that. And he says basically that Putin must think that his inner circle has been breached, because the level of intelligence, not just getting it, but clearing it and then releasing it into the public, that's something that we really haven't seen.
Fast-tracking a war.
Yeah,
we
they
really
called
haven't seen
they called the whole playbook, didn't they, Mubin? Like the taking over the territories,
everything.
Yeah, it's been bizarre. I thought
Someone's
that
defecting.
too, but
Someone's defecting.
I said this. Yeah,
Yeah,
it sounds like
yeah.
it. And who knows? Maybe it lends to discredibility of Putin and his state of leadership. But I said this at the outset of the trucker rally. It was funny because there was huge news when this first started rolling down the roads. We'll say there was huge news about Russia. And no Canadian media outlet was talking about it. Was literally the top part of the show was, you know how they do like the top stories and then they get into the big one. Russia's doing this, but listen, there's a fucking 6 trucks that are parked out front of a Walmart right now, and they focused on this. Like, you guys didn't hear what the guy said. This is huge. This is moving. Like, this is like we should be. If this was 20 years ago and it was Iraq again, our eyes would have been glued on it. But no, somebody was jingling the keys, and we were.
I think that's because there was so much meat for media, right?
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of the media is just like, it's almost like they're just obsessed with like Parliament Palace intrigue, you know. So it's like, it's just anything politics, they're all over it, right?
Yeah.
Because they're gonna get a lot of airtime off of that.
It's also what the public wants, right? So like I was legitimately and sincerely asking you to break it down in a Cole's Notes version, because because I've been so deep into this, I didn't know where we were at this point, why this was going on. And so I'm guilty of it as well. You know, I'm guilty of falling for that trap.
Well, fuck you, Ryan.
Well, and I'm usually the well-read one on this fucking panel.
Well, you don't sound like it right
James
now.
does well too. But it's literally it sells, right? Like it
you
sells.
had algorithms.
It sells, and it's like fuck. But that one I caught just because of the way they were talking, and it reminded me of when I was I was younger, when we went into the Gulf War. I remember watching TV, how big it was, and I remember the wording and the verbiage, and it was the same, but it literally got glossed over, and I'm like, no,
but this isn't a fucking, like, this is why it's scary to me, is it's not the Middle East, it's not a skirmish. These are like two fucking superpowers. This is like Axis versus Allies, and now the Allies have got, you know, fewer people because, you know, one guy moved over to the Axis, and he is the Axis at this point, right?
Is there truth to the fact that, like, Putin's scared that if the Ukraine becomes its own sovereign nation and becomes buddy-buddy with the U.S., that does Putin really think we're going to put nukes in Ukraine to point them at Russia?
We probably would.
Is that what he's
Look, I
thinking?
mean, there are nukes pointed right now as we speak to the
all of
major
us.
targets of both these countries, like
Not at
North
Edmonton
America
or
and
Buffalo,
Europe.
though. Not at
Yeah,
Edmonton
they
or
can.
Buffalo.
They don't need to be right next door to launch nukes into Russia.
There's
right?
three pointed at Edmonton.
Yeah,
Buffalo.
but like I can understand it from the Russian perspective because that would put a NATO ally literally right next door to Russia.
Yeah,
and if I was
can't have
Russia,
that.
I would be thinking the same thing, right? Like it's a security threat for them, and that's the perspective that they're taking. It's not completely without merit. Obviously, we're on we're on one side because democracy.
Russia. It's not like Russia didn't do it with Cuba. You know what I mean? It was the Bay of Pitt, the same thing, right?
Yeah,
that's true.
That is the
That is
same
true.
thing. Yeah.
Yeah,
But we still, but America still has an embargo against Cuba, and Russia's been sitting there since the dismantling of the Soviet Union. They've been sitting there and watching NATO creep towards their borders.
Yep.
And I look at you don't have this is another, I think, a symptom of polarization is that we're like, oh, is that what NATO's doing? Well, then I'm on Russia's side, and then you're like, well, Russia does this. Well, then I'm on NATO's side.
Right.
Like we're a NATO ally, and I get that. I don't know. Like I feel like. The geopolitical thing is so complicated, and we are aggressors sometimes through NATO, that I am kind of sympathetic towards just the Russian people's.
You're off the show.
That it's about
off to the gulags.
Get out.
Yeah, no,
That is an interesting part of this equation, though, Mubin, and I think.
Is.
Yeah, I think that's something that's confusing me is because some of the news that I'm hearing, and I'm just wondering why it is that I'm hearing it the way I'm hearing it and disseminating it the way I am. I've been not sympathetic, but I've understood why he's doing what he's doing. I'm not saying he's right. There is a case to be made for Putin's advancement into these areas, right? And not just from his weird legal perspective and how like everyone's going to vote for this or your families are all going to die angle either, right?
Yeah, and what's important is explanation is not the same as justification, right?
Yes,
like we can talk about the
That's a good way of putting
topic and understand that these the two guys are fighting and it's like one's your buddy, but you can understand because your buddy just told off buddy's mother. So, but you support your buddy no matter what, right? But you can understand why the other guy got pissed off. So it's very similar here. Like, I mean, that part of Ukraine, even it's like it's overwhelmingly Russian, right? Like they speak Russian, they consider themselves Russian, they're loyal to Russia, and Russian culture and whatever else. So, what do you do with that, right? Like I'm obviously
setting off fireworks, like all the people when they started to walk in, like all the residents of the Ukraine and that area.
Well,
Ukraine,
that was
we're like,
deliberate.
yeah. So like we don't know, right?
Yeah,
they're here.
Well, I mean, what Putin has done is he's basically carved up Ukraine. He's going to create this, buffer zone, if you will. It's just going to be occupied it'll be a Russian base. It'll be a militarized zone for the Russians. And that's it. And that part of Ukraine will be cut off. And that will be the end of it.
Yeah. Well, I'm
Scary
so
times.
excited to see the bullets fly, sort of, even though I'm not. Like, I hope everything goes well, but it's fucking fascinating.
It could just be bogged down into this militarized region, and that's it.
Yeah.
I mean, it wouldn't even go to
Hopefully
a
no one
conventional
dies.
war
Yeah.
because it won't be worth it in the end.
No.
Yeah. I say we
I
send.
love having you on, Mubin. I
Me
love
too.
having you on.
I say we send the truckers over there.
That's what
Yeah, they can drive. They can drive
I said
they
as
could
soon
search
as Pat,
for
Pat,
landmines.
right off the bridge.
Pat King said, Pat King promised as soon as
Yeah.
he's done with them, he's going to send Honeymoon Suite and the truckers to the front line in Ukraine.
Yeah.
Okay.
USO action.
Switch out that wood leg for a metal one. Head over.
Spies Like Us is the name of Mubin's podcast. Wednesday, a new one drops. You and Brandon Blackburn, anywhere you get your fine podcast. It is an outstanding
Oh my God.
podcast if
You
you,
have
want
to
to learn
listen to
about
it.
Good. You have to.
geopolitical stuff. And as always, Mubin, it is just an honor and a privilege to have your time today. So thanks for being here,
My
brother.
pleasure.
Appreciate
Thanks for having me,
Thanks,
gentlemen.
Mubin.
Thanks,
Talk to you
Mubin.
soon.
Have a good one,
Mubin
buddy.
Shaikh, ladies and gentlemen. Mubin Shaikh.
Oh, I love
Can
him.
we all
Isn't he the best?
just make a pact right now to not piss him off?
Yeah,
No shit.
Okay, all right.
Fuck.
Dude, I've been on the phone with him a lot.
It'll be his
lately.
fault.
What do you do when these guys do this? And he's like, don't worry about it. What do you do when do this? He goes, send that one to the cops. I'm like, all right.
All of a sudden, it'd be like in the middle of a sentence, and
Oh, then he
Did we
just,
get rid of
he's just
Ryan
gone.
on purpose?
That was the joke,
Right.
right?
You're just
Yeah,
gone.
that was the joke. Yeah.
no, he just split. But man, I love having him on.
No, me.
I wonder. I'm excited. Isn't a good word. I'm trepidatious about the whole Ukraine thing, but
I don't like it. I don't.
It
like
doesn't
don't
even
either.
feel
This one
as
bothers
intense
me.
as the Crimea thing did yet.
There's too
but
many
whatever.
white people
I know.
involved. I guess maybe that's why.
That's why I kind of like it.
You know what I mean?
Terrible.
See what I'm saying? This is fucking horrible.
should-
No,
look,
it's just
we'll put
one
the gingers-
crisis
we'll put
after
the
the next.
gingers
Like,
on
can
the
we
front
have a
line,
fucking break?
right?
Can we get a fucking break? You know what I mean? I just want to be boring.
I'm with Ryan.
I just want a boring fucking 6 months. Let's invade fucking China in fucking August. I don't care. Just give me a couple of fucking months to get over this.
reading week.
Yeah, give me a reading week. That's all I want.
Yeah.
Give me a reading week from world
it's like, why are
violence
you
and
yelling?
hate.
She's at the door.
Yeah.
She's like, you want a hug?
No, you don't.
No, I'm
Anyway,
good. We're
thanks,
we're
boys.
wrapping.
Appreciate
Thank
you
you.
doing
Thanks,
this. That is Ryan Lindley from the Sheeple Shepherd podcast. At Ryan Lindley on Twitter is where you can find him. Subscribe to his podcast as well. That is James D. Fiore. Go and download his podcast with Mark Breslin, Mike Bullard.
got
Who was
this-
the other guy? Who's
The
the other
other
dude?
guy was Howard. I forget his last name, but the Ottawa Yuck Yucks guy. And then I have that guy on my show on Thursday.
Oh,
Awesome.
me.
Ryan.
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go.
That's right.
You
I got to
realize
see my intro
why
today. It was really
you
cool.
go on that show. You've been ostracized from society on some level, blackballed, right? So what's
True.
you
That's
gotta
why I had
be-
Lachlan on right at the beginning.
Well, fuck,
I
I
get
mean, that's obvious.
I get to
But
go
Ryan,
on.
what the fuck did you do?
Comprehensive explanation on how I was building and maintaining a very cool Twitter thing, and Rookie totally fucked me today, so I have to go in and apologize for that.
I'm going to open
okay.
with saying that
So you are
Ryan
a bit of a
lost, and this
shithead.
is true. This is true. Ryan lost 2.5 Jameses when he lost weight. So
2.5
that's
men.
interesting.
Yeah, that'll be a great podcast about how to get your life back to get in order. That's a good one. I'm looking forward to it. Blackballed, name of the podcast, James D. Fiore. Go and subscribe to that as well. Lachlan Cross, 95.7 Cruise FM in
you, boys.
Edmonton. You can listen to him. Love you
Big
too,
shirt
brother.
day tomorrow.
Pink Shirt
you guys.
Day tomorrow.
Pink Shirt
Send
Day,
Lachlan a note and at Lachlan Cross if you're not in. But we'll see you tomorrow for Pink Shirt Day, and then of course
you, boys.
the podcast tomorrow.
you guys.
See you. Thanks, buddy. Talk to you soon. That is Lachlan Cross. That is Ryan Lindley. Thanks to Mubin, Shaikh, Karima Assad. Quick Pat King note. He did not make bail today. They're still deliberating. He will be in jail till Friday at the very earliest. Oh, ho, ho, ho. Another week in jail, huh? All right. Fuck around and find out, I guess. Have a great day, everybody. Thanks for being part of the show. We really appreciate it. Don't forget, you can find us wherever you get your fine podcasts at deanblundell.com, Apple, Google, and Spotify. So please go and get the Dean Blundell Show podcast. That'd be great. Just download it and see something nice if you want in the comment section or whatever, reviews. I don't know. I'm not in there. I don't really care. But it'd be nice if you did it. Also, if you could subscribe to us on YouTube, that'd be awesome. Dean Blundell Show on YouTube, Dean Blundell TV on Twitch. And thank you, everybody, for tuning in today. Don't forget to sign up for a newsletter at deanblundell.com, too. Thanks to our friends and sponsors at Easy Auto Financial. Easy Auto Financial, helping people get in cars that have bruised credit rating. They love your credit. They don't care what it looks like, and they don't want to charge you for your financing, and they want you to get the car that you want. So go to easyautofinancial.ca and check them out today. No obligation at all. Also, domination.com. It's where you dominate with content. If you do promos or videos like this, you can feed it into this little AI thing, and boom, it pops out like 70 promos in 5 minutes. It's so easy to use. Make your life a million times easier. DMNTN.com. Again, gaming, streaming, podcasting, etc. DMNTN.com. Check them out today. Try them for free. And Ed's Fine Imports and his Gitch, luxury branded underwear, boxer briefs, made in Canada, pouch in the front for your junkage. You'll love them. The only underwear I wear. Go to edsfineimports.com. Again, edsfineimports.com. Promo code GITCH and then the number 3. That is your promo code. He'll send you a free pair of underwear. Ed's Fine Imports, clothing for men and boys. His GITCH on sale now. Go to edsfineimports.com. Have a great day, everybody. Thanks for being here. We'll see you tomorrow on the program. Amber Mack, the lovely Amber Mack, will join us to talk about Facebook extremism. Ooh.